Nepal's senior-most lawmaker Arjun Narsingh is sworn in to lead House procedures ahead of full parliamentary oath-taking ceremony. Parliament Secretariat finalizes historic swearing-in ceremony for 50 lawmakers taking their oaths in record number of mother tongues. President Ramchandra Paul addresses a post-election event at the Election Commission, urges unity for governance and development. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. declares a state of national energy emergency amid escalating conflict in the Middle East. International Energy Agency chief signals readiness for additional oil reserve release following urgent requests from Japan. And Toronto World Cup organizers defend safety of temporary stadium seating following online backlash over scaffolding for upcoming FIFA tournament. Good evening, I am Sarah Sapsanamarai and this is NTV World Primetime News. We're coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Elsewhere, it's 13:15 in London, 20 to 15 in Tokyo and just after midnight in Sydney. Now the news in detail. Nepal has taken a key procedural step in its parliamentary transition. As senior-most lawmaker, Arjun Narsingh was sworn in today by President Ramchandra Paul. The 78-year-old Nepali Congress leader, elected under proportional representation system, took the oath of office and secrecy at the office of the president. He later assumed official duties at the Federal Parliament Secretariat in Singapore. Under Nepal's constitution, all members of the Federal Parliament must take the oath before participating in House proceedings. In the absence of an elected Speaker and Deputy Speaker, the eldest member chairs the initial sessions, a role now held by KC. Following today's development, preparations are underway for the swearing-in of the remaining 274 lawmakers on Thursday. The ceremony will be held at the Federal Parliament complex, where final technical arrangements are nearing completion. Nepal's House of Representatives comprises 275 members elected through a mix of direct and proportional systems. The process paves the way for the formation of a new government, with a new Prime Minister expected to take the oath later this week. The Federal Parliament Secretariat has finalized all arrangements for the swearing-in ceremony of newly elected members to the lower house. The ceremony is set for tomorrow at 2 p.m. local time. In a departure from tradition, the oath will be administered in the multi-purpose hall of the under-construction Federal Parliament building in Singapore. It's a move necessitated by the lack of completed facilities. Spokesperson Ekram Giri confirmed that the multi-purpose hall has been temporarily equipped with essential sound and security systems to serve as a functional legislative chamber. This transition follows the historic March 5 general elections, which saw a landslide victory for Rashtriya Swatantra Party, signaling a major shift in the country's political landscape. With over 250 first-timers, the newly elected members of Nepal's House of Representatives are all set to take their oath of office and secrecy tomorrow. More than 50 lawmakers have chosen to take their oath in mother language this time. As the lawmakers chose their mother tongue, Parliament Secretariat faces another problem, that is, lack of official translation service, leaving the translated version of the oath to the lawmaker concerned. And moving on, Balendra Shah, a senior leader of the Rashtriya Swatantra Party, is said to be sworn in as the country's new Prime Minister on March 27th. The ceremony is scheduled for 12:34 p.m. local time and will be marked by a blend of state protocol and cultural symbolism. Sources within RSP confirm that the inauguration will feature the sounding of 7 conch shells, along with Vedic recitations by 108 scholars and Buddhist chants by 16 monks. Following the formal oath, Shah is expected to assume office at the Prime Minister's Secretariat in Singapore by 2:15. President Ramchandra Paul has called for unity and accountability following country's recent national elections. Speaking at an event hosted by the Election Commission, Nepal in Kathmandu, the president said the public mandate has placed a significant responsibility on elected representatives. He emphasized the need for collective efforts to advance freedom, social justice, good governance and economic prosperity. Paudel also urged political actors to work together to improve living standards and strengthen Nepal's Federal Democratic Republic. At the same program, Prime Minister Sushila Karki highlighted the successful conduct of the 2082 parliamentary elections, noting that no re-polling was required across the country. She stressed that this standard of peaceful and credible elections should be maintained in the future. Meanwhile, Acting Chief Election Commissioner Ram Prasad Bhandari said the election was completed on schedule despite multiple challenges, reinforcing institutional credibility. A short break for now. We will be back right away. You're watching NTV World and this is Prime Time News. Welcome back. Residents in central Nepal are raising alarm over renewed environmental risks months after deadly floods caused widespread destruction. In Ward 12 of Panoti, in fact, locals say the resumption of stone quarrying and crusher operations along Roshi River has reignited fears of another disaster. The area was severely affected by flooding in October 2024, with communities blaming unregulated extraction for worsening the impact. According to residents, excessive mining has led to the buildup of sand, gravel and debris in the river, altering its natural course and increasing flood risk. They also accuse authorities of failing to enforce environmental impact assessments and proper oversight. Local reports indicate that more than a dozen such operations are active in the area, raising concerns about safety and long-term environmental damage. Nepal's trade dependency on fossil fuels continues to deepen, with the country importing over 123 billion rupees worth of petroleum products in the first 7 months of the current fiscal year. Data from the Birganj Customs Office shows a significant uptick in volume compared to last year, with diesel alone accounting for nearly 64 billion rupees of the total import bill. Despite this surge, including a sharp rise in liquefied petroleum gas imports, which hit over 372,000 metric tons in the last month alone, a domestic shortage is looming. While the government has collected 52 billion rupees in revenue from these imports, ordinary consumers, particularly those relying on single cylinders, report widespread difficulty in accessing supplies. Now, in Nepal's eastern hills, a quiet crisis is hollowing out the district of Bhojpur. Rampant monkey raids have escalated from a seasonal nuisance to a driver of mass displacement. In Ramprasad Rai municipality, once vibrant settlements like Archale and Bhorlini are being reclaimed by the forest. Local farmers report that nearly 98% of residents in some wards have abandoned their ancestral homes after losing entire harvests of maize and millet to Simian troops. With a lack of young labour to guard the fields, the economic burden has become a final straw, leaving a trail of ghost villages across the foothills. Nepal's national women's football captain Sabitra Bhandari, widely known as Samba, has successfully undergone knee surgery in Auckland, New Zealand. The star striker, who was originally scheduled for treatment in Qatar, diverted to New Zealand due to ongoing regional instability in West Asia. Following a public appeal after claims of neglect by the national football governing body NFA, global supporters crowdfunded over 15 million rupees in a single day. Bhandari will begin her rehabilitation tomorrow under specialist supervision, with plans to return to Qatar's Aspetar clinic once the security situation stabilizes. Now, a short break before we check out the international updates. The Philippines has declared a state of emergency as authorities respond to a rapidly developing situation. Officials say the move allows the government to mobilize resources more quickly, strengthen coordination among agencies, and ensure public safety. While details of the emergency are still emerging, such declarations are typically issued in response to major natural disasters, security threats, or public safety concerns. Government agencies have been placed on high alert, with local authorities instructed to implement contingency measures and assist affected communities. The declaration also enables faster deployment of relief operations and enforcement measures where necessary.
I want to assure everyone that this does not mean that we should panic. It means that we are doing everything that we can to assess and to alleviate the situation. It is a precautionary tool so that we are ready for whatever comes next. Because lahat ng kaya natin, all the options that have been available to us, we are now exercising.
Further updates on this are expected as officials assess the scope and impact of the situation. Now, the head of the International Energy Agency, Fatih Birol, has said the agency is ready to move forward with an additional release of oil reserves if needed, as the Iran-linked conflict fuels a global energy crisis. Birol made the remarks during a meeting with Sanae Takaichi in Tokyo, where both sides discussed ways to ensure stable crude. In Geneva, the United Nations Human Rights Council has convened an urgent debate as Gulf nations demand an immediate halt to Iranian strikes across the region. High Commissioner Volker Turk warned that the extremely dangerous and unpredictable situation sparked by the February 28th escalation between the US, Israel and Iran could ignite a global crisis at any moment. The Council is currently weighing a resolution that condemns Tehran's targeting of energy infrastructure and its attempts to blockade the strategic Strait of Hormuz.
We have a strategy that is built for a world of higher uncertainty, with risks and scenarios at its core. We have a graduated set of options for responding, and we are starting from a better place should we need to act. And we will not act before we have sufficient information on the size and persistence of the shock and its propagation. But we will not be paralyzed by hesitation, because our commitment to delivering 2% inflation over the medium term is unconditional.
European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde has signalled a readiness to act as the Middle East conflict triggers fresh volatility in global energy markets. Speaking in Frankfurt, Lagarde vowed the bank would not be paralysed by hesitation in addressing potential inflationary shocks. However, she emphasised that the ECB will remain data dependent, waiting for a clearer picture of the crisis's scale before deploying its set of options. Now, reports from Islamabad indicate that a 15-point diplomatic proposal from the US has been delivered to Iranian officials through Pakistani intermediaries. While the specific terms remain confidential, the framework reportedly outlines a phased dismantling of Iran's nuclear infrastructure in exchange for the lifting of international economic sanctions. Response to the proposal has been measured. While US officials suggest an agreement is in the interest of both nations, an Iranian military spokesperson characterized the current overtures as a unilateral negotiation. In Israel, government officials described the plan as technically sound, but expressed reservations regarding its implementation. Amid these diplomatic movements, the maritime situation in the Strait of Hormuz shows signs of shifting. More from the international front when we come back after this short breather. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko has arrived in Pyongyang for his official visit to North Korea, marking a rare high-level engagement between the two nations. State media in Belarus said the two-day trip aims to deepen political and economic cooperation and also identify joint projects. Lukashenko is expected to meet North Korean leader Kim Jong-un following an earlier encounter between the two in Beijing last year. Both countries have faced Western sanctions and have maintained close relations with Russia, particularly in the context of the ongoing war in Ukraine. The visit comes amid broader geopolitical shifts as Pyongyang seeks to expand its international partnerships, while Minsk looks to strengthen ties beyond its traditional allies. Now, in the wake of military plane crash on March 24 in southern Colombia, played a key role in rescue efforts, forming human chains, transporting the injured on motorcycles and preventing the death toll from being even higher. The government is investigating the crash, with President Gustavo Petro blaming the aging C-130 Hercules plane donated by the US and calling for accountability. Hospitals in Bogota and nearby towns are treating dozens of injured soldiers. Forensic teams begin transferring bodies for identification. Communities across the Putumayo region have gathered to mourn, and social media has been flooded with images of the tragedy and efforts to save survivors. Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado has said she is optimistic about her country's future amid efforts to attract foreign investment and rebuild democratic governance, speaking to an international media in Houston while attending the CERAWeek Global Energy Forum. Machado, a 2025 Nobel Peace Prize laureate, underscored the need for transparency, legal security and democratic elections to restore stability and also revive Venezuela's economy, particularly its vital oil sector. Her comments come as Venezuela undergoes political shifts following the ousting of longtime leader Nicolas Maduro and as interim authorities seek to open up the energy industry. Time now for sports update. Organizers in Toronto have officially unveiled the upgraded BMO field ahead of the 2026 World Cup, dismissing social media concerns over the safety of its new temporary seating. As the smallest of the 16 tournament venues, the stadium added 17,000 temporary seats to meet FIFA's capacity standards. Despite online criticism of the scaffolding structures, officials insist the engineering meets rigorous global safety protocols. The expanded infrastructure faces its major test on May 9th when Lionel Messi and Inter Miami arrive for a sold-out MLS fixture, just days before FIFA formally takes control of the venue. The iconic FIFA World Cup trophy has touched down in Los Angeles, marking the first U.S. stop of its global tour ahead of the 2026 tournament. Italian football legend Alessandro Del Piero unveiled the 18-carat gold prize at LA, live sparking a wave of fan excitement in one of the tournament's key host cities. The North American leg will span 38 cities across the U.S., Mexico and Canada as organizers aim to build momentum for what is expected to be the largest and most inclusive World Cup in history. And that brings us to the end of this news bulletin. But before we wrap up, a reminder of the top stories this hour. Nepal's senior-most lawmaker Arjun Narsingh Kesi sworn in to lead House procedures ahead of full parliamentary oath ceremony. Parliament Secretariat finalizes historic swearing-in ceremony for 50 lawmakers taking their oaths in record number of mother tongues. President Ramchandra Paudel addresses a post-election event at the Election Commission, urges unity for governance and development. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. declares a state of national energy emergency amid escalating conflict in the Middle East. International Energy Agency chief signals readiness for additional oil reserve release following urgent request from Japan. And Toronto World Cup organizers defend safety of temporary stadium seating following online backlash over scaffolding for upcoming FIFA tournament. And that's it for this edition of Primetime News. Our next bulletin will be at 2200 hours Nepal time. Do join us through our social media and also get the latest update from our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I'm Sarah Sapsanamarai. Thanks for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu, Public Service Broadcasting PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World, facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World. Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal. Telling stories that endure across centuries. Where culture breathes, stories bloom. When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World.
Taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands. Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
President Abraham Lincoln said many years ago, if you think that education is expensive, how much ignorance do you want to finance? Right.
Many of these economists now, they have a tech-based startups. And these tech-based startups, for them to even ideate and progress, you need ideas, you need people who have the experience as well as resources. I think that's exactly the space where you are an advantage. So I think Nepal should see this as an advantage and then think innovatively. You don't have to follow other country. You find what works for you, but goal is to make sure that is multiplying.
We are forgetting investing for the future. We are just handling the present illness, present poverty, present situation, somehow trying to manage it. But at the same time, that's where the vision comes in. The political or our people or the government, they also have to invest in future. They have to keep an eye on the future.
Our strategy is not producing job seekers, but producing job creators. That's our
Fantastic.
motto.
The university is producing job creators, not job seekers. Fantastic.
Hello and welcome to The Perspective on NTV World. I'm Sabika Shrestha, your host for the weekly current affairs program. Here we pick the major news of the week, unpack its significance and examine how today's decisions shape tomorrow's direction. This week's episode explores the challenges facing Nepal's new government as a major political shift takes place. The Rashtriya Swatantra Party is moving closer to a near two-thirds majority poised to reshape leadership and governance in the country. At the same time, Parliament is undergoing a historic generational change. In the recent elections, 99 out of 275 MPs are the age of 40, marking a clear rise of young leadership. The Rashtriya Swatantra Party leads this shift alongside Nepali Congress and CPN-UML, with many first-time lawmakers bringing fresh energy and new perspectives. As Nepal balances experience with youthful ambition, concerns remain around foreign employment and opportunities for the next generation. We also explore how rising global tensions are affecting Nepalis at home and abroad. All this and more in this week's episode. A historic single majority government led by the Rashtriya Swatantra Party faces soaring expectations alongside daunting challenges. Talks with tackling systemic corruption and reshaping Nepal's economic and foreign policy direction, the administration must deliver swift and visible reforms. Here is an analytical report. Days ahead from assuming power, the RSP's first single majority government carries the weight of a movement defined by a new generation. Experts suggest the incoming administration faces a dual challenge: eradicating systemic corruption while navigating a complex overhaul of the nation's economic and foreign policy framework. Following the decisive March 5 parliamentary elections, the Rashtriya Swatantra Party, RSP, now controlling 66% of the House, is under immense pressure to honor the Gen Z mandate. Experts argue that maintaining this stability may require bold constitutional amendments to institutionalize reform and root out corruption. Political analyst Arun Subedi emphasizes the administration's success hinges on two pillars: radical economic transformation and a sophisticated recalibration of Nepal's diplomatic and foreign policy frameworks to drive national development.
संविधान संशोधन अपरिहार्य छ। आर्थिक रूपान्तरणका लागि आर्थिक नीति र विधि प्रो प्राइभेट र प्रो ग्रोथ रूपमा चाहिँ मतलब अब लिबरलाइजेसनको दोस्रो अध्याय उहाँहरूले सुरु गर्न अनिवार्य छ। नेपालको परराष्ट्र नीतिलाई नेपालको राष्ट्रिय हितमा केन्द्रित गरेर अगाडि बढाउन र चाहिँ पुनर्परिभाषित गर्न जरुरी छ। यी तीनटा एजेन्डामा उहाँहरू अपेक्षित रूपमा प्रवेश गर्न सक्नु भएन भने एउटा नजिर यसपालिको असंगठित विद्रोहले स्थापित गरेका छ। प्रधानमन्त्रीले मध्यावधि गराएनन् भने पनि सडकले हस्तक्षेप गरेर मध्यावधि निर्वाचन गराउन सक्छ।
Some have assessed that even if the government and parliament change, it could be challenging to work if there is no change in personnel management bureaucracy. They have suggested that since Nepal has capable and knowledgeable employees, work can be made easier by mobilizing them according to the constitution and the law.
जसम्म ब्युरोक्रेसीलाई ठीक ढंगले राजनीतिक नेतृत्वले परिचालन गर्न सकेन भन्छु म चाहिँ, किनभने ब्युरोक्रेसीले सहयोग गरेन त्यसकारण हामीले गर्न सकिनौं भन्न पाइदैन। ब्युरोक्रेसीलाई ठीक ढंगले संविधान र कानुन बमोजिम परिचालन गर्न सक्नुपर्छ। सँगसँगै हाम्रो ब्युरोक्रेसी को क्षमता पनि छ, राज्यको लगानीबाट अनुभव ज्ञान हासिल गरेको पनि छन्। अनुभव र ज्ञान हासिल गरेका ब्युरोक्राट्सहरू सरकारलाई थोरै समय दिने, बाहिर कन्सल्टेन्सी धेरै गर्ने, आफ्नो व्यक्तिगत उन्नयनका निम्ति धेरै गर्ने, राज्यका निम्ति कम गर्ने जुन अहिलेसम्मको टेन्डेन्सी छ त्यसलाई चाहिँ करेक्सन गर्न सक्छ।
In Nepal, the Nepali Congress had formed governments based on a single majority in 1991 and 1999, but since then, no single party had been able to bring a single majority. Due to this, consensus governments had been formed since 2008. However, public expectations are very high for the RSP, which is preparing to form a government based on a single majority for the first time. Adding to this, newly elected Member of Parliament Anushka Shrestha said the focus will be as mandated by the manifesto of the party. She emphasized that women's issues, promotion of local products in the global market, and addressing youth agendas will be key priorities. She also criticized previous leadership, stating that all leaders had not worked properly in the past.
If we see some of the activities that have been done in the past parliament by people aged older, that might be considered a lot more immature than what we can expect. So I think the level of patience, persistence, maturity that various young people have shown in recent times is actually enough to build the confidence that, yeah, we'll do a good job. What I feel fresh people such as myself will bring to the table is a very pragmatic approach. The basics has to be women's rights. I often say just because we've talked about it a lot does not mean we've fixed it, and recent incidents are very, very much evident that the laws out there to protect women is not enough, so that will definitely be a priority. And while I might be one person out there, I'm very mindful to represent all the 59 communities, including all the 5 categories.
To address these expectations, it is said that RSP is preparing to make its work more effective by amending the constitution based on necessity. Talking about Rashtriya Swatantra Party RSP, there an interesting question about how the party will run the government as well as the party. RSP has stated that preparations are underway so that senior party leader Balendra Shah will run the government and party president Rabi Lamichhane will lead the party organization, as agreed before the election. A report.
Rashtriya Swatantra Party, which secured a majority in Nepal's March 5 House of Representatives election, has devised a strategy to separate the management of the government from that of the party organization. In Nepal, the traditional practice among political parties is that the leader of the parliamentary party, usually the candidate whose party wins a majority, becomes the prime minister. However, in the Rashtriya Swatantra Party, President Rabi Lamichhane will handle only the organizational leadership of the party, while senior party leader Balendra Shah will assume the role of leading the government. RSP argues that the country requires both a stable government and a strong party organization, and has therefore deliberately divided the leadership roles.
सभापतिज्यू सरकारमा नजाने र सरकारमा चाहिँ वरिष्ठ नेता बालेन्द्र शाहज्यूको नेतृत्वमा जाने भन्ने जुन एउटा तयारी छ यसले पनि पार्टी र सरकार बीचको चाहिँ समन्वय एकदम प्रगाढ बनाउँछ जस्तो लाग्छ.
According to the RSP statute, the leader of the parliamentary party is typically elected by ordinary party members from among candidates before an election. However, no such election was held prior to this House of Representatives election. Instead, the party relies on a 7-point agreement reached between Balendra Shah and the RSP at the time of the party's formation, which serves as the basis for selecting the Prime Minister. The party's General Secretary, Kabindra Burlakoti, stated that the Prime Minister will be chosen on the basis of political consensus.
बालेन्द्र शाहज्यूसँग त्यतिखेरकै सहमतिमा प्रधानमन्त्रीको प्रस्तावित उम्मेदवारको रूपमा अगाडि सार्ने गरी निर्णय भएको छ र त्यो सहमतिको आधारमा केन्द्रीय समितिले त्यसलाई अनुमोदन पनि गरेको छ र केन्द्रीय समितिले अनुमोदन गरिसकेको कारणले गर्दाखेरि त्यो एउटा राजनीतिक दस्तावेजको रूपमा रहन्छ र केन्द्रीय समितिले नै सोही अनुसार संसदीय दलको नेता बनाउने गरी प्रस्ताव चाहिँ संसदीय दलमा पठाउँछ र संसदीय दलले केन्द्रीय समितिको प्रस्ताव अनुसारको संसदीय दलको नेता चयन गर्ने र प्रधानमन्त्री चाहिँ संसदीय दलको नेता हुने जस्तो गरी जान्छ. यो चाहिँ राजनीतिक सहमतिबाट आइसकेपछि त्यो केन्द्रीय समितिले पारित गरिसके पछाडि त्यसैले नै ओभररुल गर्छ र विधानको व्यवस्थालाई पनि समेटेर अगाडि बढ्छ. यो
RSP, having 182 out of the 275 seats in the House of Representatives, is preparing to form a government under Article 76, Clause 1 of Nepal's constitution, based on a single-party majority. The party plans to form an initial cabinet of 11 to 18 members, with ministries assigned according to expertise. The government is expected to be officially formed on March 27, immediately following the oath-taking of lawmakers on March 26.
Let's look at the parliament now. In a historic shift, Nepal's parliament now reflects unprecedented social diversity, marking a significant milestone in the country's democratic evolution. The newly formed legislature brings together voices from communities long underrepresented at decision-making level. For the first time, the federal parliament includes a broader mix of newcomers, a record number of women lawmakers, a transgender representative, and members of the differently abled community, signaling a more inclusive political landscape. We look deeper with this report. Nepal's newly elected House of Representatives marks a historic shift, bringing together a diverse mix of lawmakers for the first time. Youthful first-time representatives, record numbers of women through the proportional system, the country's first transgender women, and differently abled members are joining the legislature, making it one of the most inclusive and representative parliaments in the nation's history. Adding to the formal transition, the Election Commission Nepal on Thursday handed over certificates to winners elected under the proportional representation system, congratulating them on their upcoming parliamentary term during a ceremony held at its premises. Riding on a wave of public demand for reform and accountability, the RSP secured a major share of seats, largely driven by first-time candidates and political newcomers. Unlike traditional parties, the RSP's parliamentary cohort is heavily composed of freshers, individuals from non-political backgrounds such as media, business, civil society, and activism. This generational and professional shift is widely seen as a catalyst for new governance approaches and institutional transformation. The composition of the House reflects a broader societal change. For the first time, a transgender woman has been elected as a member of parliament, marking a historic milestone for representation and inclusion in Nepal's political landscape.
I'm the first transgender woman who represented in parliament, right? So actually most of our transgender community, they have a citizenship problem, marriage equality, there is no law and policy. So my first priority to how to address and how to write to law in my community and for social justice.
In addition, the new parliament includes representation from differently abled individuals, further strengthening the voice of communities that have long remained on the margins of political decision-making.
My key priorities will be anti-corruption agendas, the agendas of Gen Z movement, service delivery, and physically different peoples like me.
Women's representation has also seen a notable rise, with very few made to run and then elected from the direct elections. Political parties were by the law mandated to bring in more women to secure at least 33% representation.
I think it's going to be very interesting because lots of us are freshers. There's a lot to learn, and there are some people who have had who will be repeating the parliament. So I think it'll be a very interesting, and it's yet to unfold. And I think the kind of background we come from, if it's in the interest of the country, we all will be together and will unite and work for the betterment of the nation.
As Nepal enters this new parliamentary phase, the blend of fresh leadership and inclusive representation has raised hopes for a more responsive, transparent, and forward-looking political system. The leadership's ability to harness the energy of new lawmakers while ensuring policy coherence will be closely watched in the coming months. Not just in terms of inclusion, a major generation shift will be seen in Nepal's House of Representatives now. In the recent House of Representatives election, more than 1 in 3 MPs, 99 out of 275, are under the age of 40 years. This is a clear signal of the rise of young leaders in national politics. The Rashtriya Swatantra Party leads with 82 young parliamentarians, while Congress, UML and other parties contribute smaller numbers. Many are first-time legislators, bringing fresh energy to a house that now blends youthful voices with experienced leaders. Our colleague Siksha Sharma explains more.
Nepal's long-standing question, where are the young leaders in politics, may finally have an answer. In the recent House of Representatives election held on March 5, out of 275 elected members, 99 are under 40 years old. That's more than 1 in 3 MPs. This is a sharp jump from just 13% in the previous election, signaling a new era of youth participation. Among these young parliamentarians, 55 are men and 44 are women. The Rashtriya Swatantra Party dominates with 82 young MPs, while Congress has 8, UML 6, Shram Samskriti Party 2 and Rashtriya Prajatantra Party 1. The Nepali Communist Party has no young MPs this time. Breaking it down by age, 45 MPs are between 25 and 34, 97 are between 35 and 44, and 75 are between 45 and 54, together making up more than half of the House. Many of these MPs are first-time legislators, bringing fresh energy and enthusiasm to national politics. While youth alone cannot solve all political challenges, this election marks a major generational shift, fulfilling the people's mandate expressed after the Gen Z movement. The oldest MP elected is 78-year-old Arjunar Singh Kesi of Nepali Congress. This shows that a House now blends vibrant young voices with experienced leadership. Hopes are high that the new composition could change the dynamics of Nepal's politics, making it more inclusive, participatory, and responsive to the aspirations of younger generations.
Away from national politics, the Middle East conflict continued taking limelight in media throughout the week. Amid ongoing uncertainty and conflict involving Iran and its regional neighbors, the number of Nepali workers heading to Gulf countries has seen a decline. However, foreign employment remains a key livelihood option for many, with hundreds still departing Nepal each day. A report.
At Tribhuvan International Airport, a steady flow of young Nepalis continues as they leave the country in search of work abroad. 30-year-old Purushottam Rai from Sarlahi is among them. Since completing his school-leaving certificate over a decade ago, he has searched for employment across multiple cities in Nepal, including Kathmandu. Unable to secure a job even paying 10,000 rupees a month, he is now heading to Malaysia for work. Despite ongoing tensions and conflict in Iran, Rai says his priority is earning a livelihood and global events have little direct impact on his decision.
धेरै ठाउँमा डुल्यो तर चाहिँ कहीँ काम पाए छैन काम नपाएको कारणले हामीहरू भ्रष्टाचारीको कारणले हामीहरू चाहिँ उता खाडी मुलुकतिर चाहिँ कमाउन गइरहेछौं घर परिवार पाल्नको लागि.
Rai represents many like them. According to officials, more than 2,000 Nepalis continue to leave the country daily for foreign employment. Over the past month, travel disruptions have been reported in parts of the Middle East due to heightened tensions involving the United States, Israel, and Iran. Several Gulf transit routes have been affected. However, departures from Nepal have not stopped. Young workers say going abroad is not a choice but a necessity driven by limited opportunities at home.
नेपालमा रोजगारी हामीले भनेको जस्तो पाएको छैन के गर्नु यस्तै छ नेपालको अवस्था हेर्दा
नेपालमा केही रोजगार नपाएर चाहिँ अब बाहिर जान आट्यो नभए त्यतिकै आफ्नो घर परिवार छोडेर त्यतिकै कोही जादैन बाहिर अब त्यही हो आफ्नो भविष्य बनाउनु पनि पर्यो.
कुनै व्यापार व्यवसाय सुरुमा लगानी लाउनै सकिदैन एक त अनि अर्को त अब सुरु गरियो भने पनि त्यसलाई चलाउन एकदमै गाह्रो छ. त्यही भएर मान्छेहरूले अहिले त्यस्तो गर्नु भन्दा बाहिर गएर केही गरेर उतै सेटल हुने त्यस्तै सोचिरहेका हुन्छन् सबैले.
Data from Department of Foreign Employment shows that more than 441,000 Nepalis obtained labor permits for foreign employment by mid-February of the current fiscal year. In the previous fiscal year, the number reached 887,000.
The escalating conflict in the Middle East is casting a long shadow over the Nepali economy. While the fighting remains centered in the Middle East, the ripple effects are reaching the doorsteps of millions of households in Nepal. With nearly a quarter of our GDP tied to foreign employment, experts warn of a brewing domestic crisis as the flow of labor and remittances come under threat. Sivani Thapa Basnath digs deeper.
Kathmandu's Tribhuvan International Airport. It is usually a gateway of hope for thousands of migrant workers. But today, the atmosphere is heavy with uncertainty. As tensions in the Middle East intensify, the lifeline that sustains the Nepali economy is beginning to fray. For decades, the Gulf region has been the primary destination for over 1.7 million Nepali workers. Now, that stability is at risk. Beyond the immediate fear of fuel price hikes, a deeper structural threat is emerging in the sectors of agriculture, tourism, and most critically, remittances.
नेपालको अर्थव्यवस्थामा पनि हुन्छ त्यहाँ काम गर्न पाएन भनेपछि उनीहरू मान्छेहरू नेपालमा आइदिन्छ राम्रो रेमिटेन्स गर्दिन्छ यसको ठुलो इम्प्याक्ट चाहिँ हाम्रो यो इकोनोमीमा पनि पर्दैन रोजगारी खोज्दिनु पर्ने एउटा चिन्ता सधैँ छ र रेमिटेन्स आइदिएन भने त्यहाँबाट आएर विप्रेषण आइदिएन भने नेपालको इकोनोमी पनि डामाडोल हुने अवस्था हुन सक्छ अर्को कुरा किन गर्ने त्यहाँबाट विदेश मान्छे जान पाएनन् एउटा समस्या होला यहाँ पनि विदेश पठाउने भने ठुलो संख्यामा मान्छेहरू त काम गरिरहेको छ चाहे यो रोजगार व्यवसायीहरू किन नहुन् ओरिएन्टेसनका मान्छेहरू किन नहुन् मेडिकलका मान्छेहरू किन नहुन् र एयरपोर्टका एयरलाइन्सहरू पनि तपाईले हेर्नुहुन्छ ठुलो रोजगारी यहाँमा पनि चुनौती आउन सक्छ.
The numbers tell a stark story. According to Nepal's central bank, the Nepal Rashtra Bank, the Gulf countries contribute roughly 41% of all remittances entering the country. While the first 7 months of this fiscal year saw a record inflow of 1,271 billion rupees, that momentum is hitting a wall. In the month of February alone, the number of labor permits issued dropped from over 30,000 last year to just 20,000 this year, a staggering 33% decline.
यदि अलिकति मिड टर्मको हुने बित्तिकै हाम्रो नेपालको सोसियल प्रोटेक्सन्सका जति प्रोग्रामहरू छ त्यसलाई पनि मिलाउनु पर्ने हुन सक्छ। उनीहरू तत्कालै आयो भने खाने पनि पैसा नहुन सक्ला है त, कतिपय ठाउँमा पैसा नकमाएर पनि आउन सक्ने हुनसक्छ, तिनीहरूलाई राज्यले हेरिदिनु पर्ने हुन्छ नि त। एउटा सोसियल प्रोटेक्सनको थिममा एउटा के भन्छ भने बियोन्ड द इन्डिभिजुअल कन्ट्रोल केही कुरा हुन्छ भने त्यो सरकारले हेरिदिनु पर्ने हुनसक्छ।
A drop in these permits means fewer jobs abroad, less money flowing into rural villages, and a potential liquidity crunch for the banks. This has led to urgent calls for the government to move away from the labor export model and focus on creating jobs within its own borders. As the conflict shows no signs of easing, the government is being urged to act quickly on long-term domestic employment strategies to prevent a full-scale socio-economic collapse.
That's the perspective for this week. We will be back next week with other major highlights of the week. Thank you for watching NTV World.
President Abraham Lincoln said many years ago, if you think that education is expensive, how much ignorance do you want to finance? Right.
Many of these economists now, they have a tech-based startups, and these tech-based startups, for them to even ideate and progress, you need ideas, you need people who have the experience as well as resources. I think that's exactly the space where you are an advantage. So I think Nepal should see this as an advantage and then think innovatively. You don't have to follow other country. You find what works for you, but goal is to make sure that is multiplied.
We are forgetting investing for the future. We are just handling the present illness, present poverty, present situation, somehow trying to manage it. But at the same time, that's where the vision comes in. The political or our people or the government, they also have to invest in future. They have to keep an eye on the future.
Our strategy is not producing job seekers, but producing job creators. That's our
Fantastic.
motto.
The university is producing job creators, not job seekers. Fantastic.
नमो हिरण्यबाहवे हिरण्यवर्णाय हिरण्यरूपाय हिरण्यपतये अम्बिकापतये उमापतये पशुपतये नमो नमः।
Music, dance, food, art and devotion are the lifeblood of Newar culture, an ancient civilization rooted in the Kathmandu Valley of Nepal. With lively festivals nearly every fortnight, the Newars celebrate life through a rich tapestry of traditions known as Jatra.
Power is often misunderstood. We think of it as control, coercion, or even command. But history shows that the most durable power is persuasion without force, what we now call soft power. Welcome to Geopod. I'm Shivani Thapa Bosniak. My guest today does not speak or carry emblems around, yet globally he may be one of Nepal's most effective representatives. A Grammy nominee, a global music collaborator and creator whose music carries Nepal into spaces diplomacy rarely reaches. Let him introduce in the language that he best speaks to the world.
साँझमा तिमी आउनु यो शान्त मनमा शान्त जगाउनु मृग तृष्णा सरी जीवनमा के छ पाउनु भन के नै गुमाउनु किन मान्छे यहाँ आफ्नै भुलमा पनि एक्लै एक्लै यहाँ गाली र दोष को भुमरीमा रुमल्ली रुमल्ली रहन्छन् भोलि बुद्धकै भई आउनु बाँसुरी श्री कृष्णकै बजाउनु भोलि बुद्धकै भई आउनु बाँसुरी श्री कृष्णकै बजाउनु मृग तृष्णासरी जीवनमा के छ पाउनु भन के नै गुमाउनु
And that possibly was the best language the audience could read you. Manoj Newa, dear viewers, the first ever Nepali Grammy nominee to the world. And this is the language that the world understands from Manoj, from what they, and how they read Manoj and how they read Nepal. Welcome to Geopod, Manoj.
Thank you, Shivani.
The first time I saw you performing, I stood there questioning myself who this guy is.
Playing the bamboo flute.
Right. And I'm sure many can relate to that very quick. Before we talk about music, who were you before music happened?
Let me go back. I grew up in Bodh, Kathmandu, and I think I was 8 years old. I was in my bed. There was no electricity. And the dark of the night, a very mystical sound I heard. It was so, something so magical that changed my life. So before that, I think I was just a kid trying to,
An 8-year-old.
An 8-year-old, yeah. I'm still looking for that sound. I'm still longing for that sound. And in that process of looking for that sound, I got to meet all this beautiful sound. I'm actually sure that was the sound I heard is Lord Krishna playing flute. And that's my inspiration still now to look, how could something can be so beautiful?
Right. I can visualize. As you talk, I'm visualizing an 8-year-old around a very, a very picturesque and a very rich setting like Baudhanath, running around playing with his mates, probably marble or chungi or something like that,
totally,
right?
Totally.
And then you grew up in this city, so vibrant, with so sounds, right? Temples, bells, monasteries.
Monasteries.
And there's silence as well, the streets, right?
Yep.
When did you actually realize this was not only a sound of the background, but your calling?
When we do something, like a project, there's a process. The music, I'm talking about the inner music. Of course the world has, everything has a sound. Even there is no sound, there's a sound. There's a live sound, there is not a live sound. Even the noise is a sound in the right context. Noise can be music in the right place, no? Since I was a little kid, I have a very distinct clarity of a different sound in my ear. To have the clarity in that sound, the shades of sound, the longing for it, the motivation to look for that sound, that connection, whatever you call it. You can say my spiritual awakening, but that's what made me...
So it was natural and inborn to you. Right?
And that's a process of, looking for, instruments and people and music.
And how did training and technique happen to you? At what age?
My house is in front of Bodhanath Stupa. In my third floor, I look, there's the eyes of Buddha looking at me. Our prayer flags are fluttering, the Tibetan horns, the monastic sound, the prayer wheels. Can you imagine? To able to just be there, to just witness that as a kid. And, just walk down, you go to Pasupatinath there, sit in front of, all the sadhus and the ghats. It's for a kid to have that experience, to realize our life is so precious. And same time, it's not that something to have the ego for it, because everyone has to somehow, To able to see that, it taught me so much, Shivani. It taught me so much to be who I am today. It's taught to, we have seen what teaches us who we are in the depth. Who am I? Real me. Who Shivani? Who Manoj? Who real I am? That's a beautiful question to ask.
Right. So the large part of what you are today, or what you have been able to cater to the world, is the surroundings that you grew up in. That's exactly what you're trying to say.
It is really influenced by that. I'm very grateful for that.
When did you actually realize that this is going to be your language for the world for the rest of your life?
I never thought I would take this journey as a profession. I never even, I could just play a note in the bamboo flute, my bansuri, just one note all day, and get so satisfied inside. And I would hear, it will melt me so deep inside. I'm so happy. Wow, how could something be so beautiful? And that also drive me to practice. Again, look, there's a motivation and there's a drive for practice, which was, nobody's telling me to do that. It was the inner fire. Inner fire, oh my God. I'll wake up first thing, I'll think about practicing. I'll go to bed, think about practicing next morning. It's like total in love.
So you're drawn to it naturally.
Oh my God, I could not stop. I could not. I just practice for I would practice for let's say 6-7 hours a day or 8 hours a day. Even in my sleep, I will be practicing. My thoughts, this. And so practice sort of drove me to the places that people started to recognize me. Oh wow, this guy is not normal. He's not normal at all. So, I was very fortunate. Kiratisur Sangeetashram is one of the pioneer place that was started the full moon concert, devotional music and plus Nepali Shastriya Sangeet, last 35 years. So every full moon they do the free concerts. So I was able to meet my teacher there, Sri Madandev Bhatta. He saw the potential on me and he started to you need to learn. Wow, to find a teacher with that drive, my God. Now, Swargiya Homnath Upadhyay, he was, one of my influence then. And then I met Dr. Davis Chandra Regmi, all these people, Atul Gautam. And these are the, the pillars that time to kind of bring me to this music scene. And I started coming to Radio Nepal, Nepal Television then, and slowly finding my way. Actually, the music can make a profession. They start to understand, wow, people want me to come play with them, and they want me to pay. I remember playing for one project for that German, what is it, Goethe Institute.
Goethe Institute,
yes,
right,
and
right.
I played in that time at Royal Academy, we used to call that. And after the concert we did, my part was just 5 minutes playing, and they handed me 7,000 rupees. That was lots of money then. And I thought it was a mistake.
Oh my God. This must have been almost 3 decades ago, was it?
Yes,
wow.
yes.
You must have been a kid then.
I was a kid. I was like a 17,
a teenager
18.
probably,
yeah,
right?
17, 18, and I'll do music every day just because I love it so much, and it heals me. As music has so much healing power. Yeah.
Right. Let's talk about your signature instrument, bansuri. So deceptively simple it is, right?
Yes.
Right. Just a bamboo and breath.
That's right.
At least for a layman like me, who is not an expert in music. Why did something so minimal as bansuri, as we see it, felt so powerful enough for you to carry it as an instrument to express yourself?
That's a beautiful question. Bansuri is not just a Nepali thing. It goes everywhere in the world. Everywhere. If you really look at the history of the flute, The oldest instrument they have found so far in the world is a flute. It's made out of bone.
Really?
Isn't that amazing? So something with the wind, with the breath, and going through the cylinder, and even like Bhagavan Krishna. He's playing it.
What is this thing? I've heard and read so much about, the Krishna element of your musical journey somewhere. I don't exactly remember where. What is this element about your musical journey and the fascination with the
I'm
Master?
inspired by very much of Mahabharata, and what Krishna was guiding Arjuna. I get, it's life is a book. You have a choice to believe or not, whatever it is. But personally, it helps me to bring that Krishna element in my music, And when I close my eyes, when I play, it's brings me to a place of non-duality. Wherever I go, wherever I play in Japan or Chile or you name it, on 2 notes I play, energy shifts. I don't have to speak a language. I don't have to worry about how I look. I don't have to worry about my color of my skin. I would love to see the world that, they celebrate. Just each culture can celebrate their and
the universality of it, the harmony it disseminates.
Exactly.
I can't really wait, Manoj, for you to pick that flute out there and do that magic. I don't feel the need and the urge to, speak more and just let this flow, because this, I believe, is a music coming from a soul meant to cater to the soul, right? In this age, Manoj, where, majority of the artists who are, chasing mastery in whatever they're undertaking,
That's
you
right.
seem to have chased meaning.
That's the thing. More you know, less you know. I learn every day. Again, I learn from everyone. There's a sound, let's say there's a 7 sound, Satsur we call, Sa Re Ga Ma Pa Da Ni Sa. So within that, all the music, whatever here, it's inside that thing. But how mysterious it is for me is what is audible and what is not audible. It just because you cannot hear, it's not audible. It doesn't exist. You know what I mean? For example, what we see right now is a certain frequency. For example, if you put a grasshopper, it will see the ultraviolet, but we won't. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist there. Our existence is so mysterious, and we think this is it. Oh my God, you're wrong. You're wrong. And so more you know, less you know, because it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And again, I'm coming back to sorry to bring in again the spirituality in the geopod, but that's where I surrender. What else?
How much music helps to dig deeper?
The power of music can really help to people to open their heart. You know, we talk about compassion, we talk about karuna, we can talk about, unity. So how to bring together a people in a place that there's no fear, complete trust. The world is a mess because they cannot trust each other. You cannot trust. I don't know why people not trusting each other. Personally, I think there's enough for everyone. There's plenty is given to us. But somehow we are. Maybe it's a human thing, We are afraid that we don't have enough. But music, I play for you. It's not going to cost anything, We share. My experience of going around the world, music and cooking together, that's going to bring the world together. So we need to share our culture, our music, our food, but the uniqueness of what we have, it needs to be preserved.
Right.
So need to be preserved. Otherwise, like for example, I was in Egypt a couple of years ago. All those temples are there, amazing temples. But there's no worshippers. They're just tourists. A temple without worship. Sometimes I worry about our country in that way. Can you imagine people stop going around Pasupati and Bodha and they just stay on their phone? My God.
Not everybody who comes to that seat, Manoj, talks with this intensity. Manoj, your journey took you far beyond Nepal. So you're currently based in?
I'm based in very near Silicon Valley in California. This place called Santa Cruz. It's a surfing town, beautiful place. And also based here in Kathmandu.
Your audience is wide and large, right? So many among these audiences, I believe, do not really understand the cultural or the musical or the linguistic roots that your work is coming from. What do you think they're connecting with?
We're all trying to get some love. That's it, at the end. When you're the mother, the child, we're looking for, mother's attention, and mother looks at the child, and that karuna, mamata we call it, that's love. Just the facial expression of a child can release the oxytocin in your body, and that you have that caring energy for that child.
You're just the trigger.
Yeah, it's a for example, I just want to pick in geopod, like in this global world we live in. I mean, internet was created in USA, isn't it? If internet was not created, the world would be very, very different now. No? There's a plus, there's a positive side of it. The world has become very small in the information matter. But at the same time, we are feeling away from each other. We're feeling more separated. I wonder why. That's so interesting. So I'm telling this to myself as well. We need to connect more in inner net, not internet.
That's a wonderful way of putting it, right?
I know. This is how it is.
Right.
And it's amazing.
We've sort of lost touch of the internet owing to the internet, right?
Exactly.
So we need to reverse that.
Everyone is in the phone. Everyone. That's what one thing that disappoints me. It's everyone is so distracted. So distracted. Even me.
How difficult is it for creators like you? How has internet affected creators like you?
Oh, it's interesting. It's very disappointing some point, because the good things doesn't get to seen, the bad things get spiked right away. You know, that's the human psychology of survival. What sells? Violence sells. Sex sells. You know, so people are so put into that plate of survival, they cannot think of anything else, because they have to think of what they're gonna make next day, what they're gonna feed their children next day. If you're in that place, how can you think about, you know, being a wonderful unity place and creating music? You know, it's there's no time. So, for example, if there is too many dishes in your plate, then you're not going to appreciate any food because you don't know what to eat.
About your work, Manoj, your work is happening in a very, very unique space, a rare space, that's how I see it. You know, between Nepali folk music to Indian classical raga, and then there's also one of the very prominent part is the global spiritual element that That's you right. incorporate in your music, right? It's so rare, so unique, and so beautiful. Just out of curiosity, did you ever feel the pressure to simplify your sound for wider acceptance?
You know, that's one of my advantages of being in the West and able to play the bansuri. The way I played was it was almost like hybrid. I could play the way that was soothing for Western ears, because when I moved to US, it was around like in 1998 to 2000, the yoga culture was very booming. And when I started to play, some of those, like, you know, like all the kirtans and the spiritual song, it was incorporated even into, like, you know, movies, big movie, Matrix and all this, you know, they would use the Sanskrit mantras and all this in their background music, you know. And so you can play the same note. For example, just give you a little bit of an example, Sudan, of this. Sounds very Nepali.
Right.
And it could be on the mountain. But if I say,
that's the signature of Manoj Newana.
So if I play same flute, but I'll. It sounds very different. It sounds very more towards, you know, Scottish, Irish, right. You know, right. That sound. Because the way they they play and how they incorporate the accent, the textures, is very different. Again, I'm coming back to the same, what kind of spectrum you are listening into. What you are, you know, when the kid was when they are conceived, the first organ developed was hearing. Okay. You know? Yeah. So it's so interesting that the kids are listening all the things. The blueprint of that kid is deciding then what mom is listening. Isn't that amazing? And other thing, when you take a last breath, when you're dying, the last sense that's going to lose is also hearing. So you'll think the person is dead, but actually you'll be listening still, because that's the sense, last sense you will have. So listening is such a big power.
Right, you're taking me to various zones. I thought I'd be talking about music and diplomacy, but here I am transported to, you know, some metaphysical. But this is wonderful to know. I can really gauge the intensity of a creator's mind and the creator's soul. right? Such a wonderful and warming conversation this has become. And this is also making me wonder, when you perform abroad, Manoj, do you think primarily of the music, or are you always aware about your presence, Nepal, or audience? What is that awareness level when you really perform?
Well, you know, to have this wonderful instrument, which is Nepali instrument, that's already, people are already, like the way I play, because of, again, why Manoj then? Why people want Manoj's sound? Because I'm so blessed, I'm grateful to Pashupatinath and Bodhanath. I had a advantage of somehow I could play that I can make my own accent that's soothing to the Western ear. You know, yesterday I got a call from Hollywood. You know, they needed a track. You know, why they call me, you know. There's so many flute players out there because they heard me and they like my accent. And there is you know, so I'm grateful to that because I was flexible. I didn't say this is my way and I'm going to stay that way, you know. And I'm glad that I was able to, you know, practice with the people and who are very open-minded, you know. And in music, you have to be open-minded.
As a creator, from what I read from you, from this very, very short conversation I had, the ability to blend into the vastness of music or the earth itself is very, very important.
It's very important.
For a creator.
Very, very important. Coming to Nepal, for me, it inspires me so much. Tomorrow, I would request you one thing, Shivani. The first sound you will hear in your bed in the morning, the first sound when you wake up, notice that sound, if you can. The first tweet of the bird, which awakes the whole world, that tweet.
How does that make a difference?
Well, you'll know it.
You'll have to
I cannot explain, because that tweet is such a gentle tweet, but it's the most powerful tweet.
What is the power of music that political narratives don't?
So what kind of ripple you're going to create, how we're going to create, what are those elements going to help you? It all depends on that. And music is, again, it's music. Nobody can stop music, you know. Music, the real music comes between the notes. It's the silence. I would love to see Nepal hosting World Music Festival. I would love to see that. Bringing some amazing musicians and bringing. I remember going to Indonesia a long time ago, and the government has initiated this festival, and they want all the instruments that are made out of bamboo. And they chose me to be part of it. And everybody bringing the bamboo instruments, you know, from drums to it was. So I want to request to our government and people who influence to bring world stage, give them a platform so they could celebrate, they can learn from here as well as collaborate with the musicians here. And not just music, dance, and cuisines, and, you know, like, we have so much to offer.
Do you not think Nepal lags hugely on the confidence side when it comes to music, that we largely wait for external validation?
That's our part of our culture, I would say. You know, like the one to say, the expectation. You know, myself, you know, in my family, we are so not saying that we need to do it ourselves and we're going to do it. We think, oh, maybe my dad will do it or my mother will do it. It's something that the expectation culture we have. That, you know, that kind of attitude. But again, it's now we need to move ahead. We need to open that door, and it's not just And confidence comes again from the claiming our culture. We need to claim back our culture. We're so influenced by everything West is great. Everything comes from West is great. There are great things about West, but we have also so many amazing things we have. We need to claim it, and then we can exchange. We can teach them. For example, like yoga, all this come from our culture, isn't it? No. Now, I'm bringing my friend who's a yoga teacher who is teaching yoga to us. So, you see that. That's so we need to.
How can you do it? Like looking at your journey, what possibilities do you see if Nepal chooses to engage more internationally? How can we do it?
I just saw this documentary about our queen, Lakpa Sherpa.
Lakpa Sherpa, right.
My God, it touched my heart so much. A single woman coming from a mountain, fighting all the way to, this patriarchal society with her, with her Western husband to, she never gave up. Found her stage in the world. She plowed through. Nobody could stop her. No, this is the country where Buddha chose to be born. He could have born anywhere, but he chose here. This is the place. We have so much to offer to the world. We have so many amazing. Nepali people are so resilient. They travel to find a better life for their family. They sacrifice everything. They go work so hard in 60 degrees Celsius heat. They climb mountains that no oxygen. They, they go fight for others' war. It's been like that for centuries. Now that needs to be stopped.
Right.
We need to work together. We need to come together as a brothers and sisters and put away all the differences, and make one song together. Song together, we can all sing. That's what I think.
Right, wonderfully said. Manoj, let's talk about the Grammy moment. What was it like?
Oh my God. Well, it was 2020. I've been very blessed to also to collaborate with some Westerner musicians, and one of them was Deva Pramal and Miten. They were, Miten and Deva, they were very inspired by Eastern philosophy. Also, actually, they were very inspired by Osho's world, and through that they got to learn a lot about the mantras and the beauty of what our music can bring to the people, the serenity, the healing power of music. So when they heard I'm playing the flute in such a unique way, they thought, wow, this boy is good. So I started to collaborate with them, travel with them for almost like 15, 16 years. I've traveled so many places, and through them, their platform, I've really I've reached out to many people in the different countries, and one of the album that we did together it was actually Ravi Shankar's daughter, Anushka Shankar, is also guest artist in the album, and it was very lucky that we are. I mean, it deserved it. It was amazingly produced. And when I went to Los Angeles to be there with 10,000 people in the Staple Arena, it was amazing. I wore a Nepali dress and put instead of kukri, I put my bansuri.
Wow. Did it by any chance change you as a musician?
I don't believe in the place that you have to give an award to recognize music, The music again, the music I play, it doesn't need anybody's validation. Music is so powerful, and we all have our own songs. Nobody can tell you're not singing well, or you're not good enough. No, that's so wrong. So I want I want everybody find their own voice. So never tell your kid that you cannot sing. You say you sing. You have an amazing voice, and you practice, it'll come to you.
From what I see, Manoj, is you're not only disseminating or giving away world the things that you have in your soul, right? You're also gathering a lot of things in pieces, maybe in substance, and those that are intangible, from places that you travel and that you do intensively.
Yeah.
Right? So if you could walk us through a few, I'm sure our audience are going to love it.
Yeah, well, let me see, what can I do? I call this one kachua.
Okay.
Look like a kachua, no?
That's a Nepali name for it.
Nepali name, kachua.
Okay.
But this one particularly comes from Russia. It's a part of, it's somewhere in mid-Russia. It's very beautifully carved, and they call it hand pan. It's quite popular nowadays. And yeah, I can play this for a little bit, huh?
Who would imagine something that looks so simple as this can do wonders?
If you look at it, it's all the bells put together, like singing bowls. It's I'm sure you have gone to some sound healing. Basically, the sound of singing bowls, bells. Sounds like a bell. Beautiful, no? Your blood pressure will be down, your heart rate would be down, and you're in a place of just pure awareness. That's what we want.
As we head forward towards wrapping up this conversation,
Yeah.
Manoj, anything still unfinished for you, creativity or philosophically?
That's a beautiful question. For me, it's now the practice is being present. I don't long for I want to, win Grammy next, or I want to go that. My fantasy now is more to practice to be present, to how to be present with myself, to improve, how to be more mindfulness, and how to create music that helps others. You don't need to change. I don't think you can change the country. I think it's good to start with your own home, your own room. Can you do some changes in your own room? So I'm working in my own room.
Fixing your internet. That's good to be.
If I can fix myself, maybe I can think of, it's 40 plus year now. I realize the world is not going to be perfect. The fantasy we think, I don't think that's going to, there's always going to be something, always. Just like the road I live in Bodo, there always somebody's digging for the last 30 years.
And you don't know what is
It's so funny, they built the perfect road, and next day they're already digging it. God.
And that never ends.
So I just okay, you
So
can't
this is
beat
not
them,
going to
just
end.
join them.
And finish the work.
I know. So that's where I am.
That was a beautiful anecdote that you ended with. Well, words can take us this far. We know we can go on and on, but for now, thank you so much, Manoj, for coming over, sharing with us with this. I really am falling short of words, and I'm just wishing that I would have learned a few of these notes so that I could speak better to you, right?
Well, your voice, again, remember, it's not the instrument you're playing. It's every moment, every breath. Every breath is so amazing. Think about your breath, how how powerful it is. I would like to bring again the spirituality in our breath. Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar. When you inhale, that's a Brahma, the creator. When you inhale the breath, the oxygen, the lungs, nerves are going to take up, oxygens. That's the Vishnu, it's the sustainer. If you don't breathe, you'll die. In 5 minutes, you're dead. No? And when you exhale, all the carbon dioxide, the things that you don't need, it's coming out. That's Maheshwar. That's transformation. So every breath, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar, Brahma, Vishnu. I tell you, Shivani, it'll change your day completely. It'll change you, it'll change your friends, it'll change your family. You just live in a total gratefulness.
Thank you, Manoj, so much. And I'm already thinking we'll need another session of interview to talk spirituality, which is again one signature of Manoj Neva. Right. You'll have to be back for that. For now, thank you so much for the great wealth of insight and the depth of, the soul that you bring to this interview.
Thank you, Shivani.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to have you here.
Hope to see you again.
Hopefully, for sure. It's a promise. Power does not always announce itself. Sometimes it arrives quietly through breath, as Manoj Neva so explicitly explains. Of course, bamboo, the magic bamboo that he brought us here, and memory. Manoj Neva reminds us that long before nations speak, they sound. Thank you for joining us on Geopod. See you next week.
How many countries can you recognize by just looking at their flags? 20, 40, maybe 60. Today I'm joined by a young prodigy from Kathmandu, Nepal, who has far surpassed those numbers. At just 10 years old, Kripal Paudel secured his place in the World Book of Records by successfully identifying and reciting the flags of every country in the world in just 1 minute and 40 seconds. This historic feat was officially recorded on July 10, 2024. Kripal, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Are you excited for the interview?
Yes, I'm already excited for this interview.
We'll show you random 40 flags and you have to name them as fast as possible.
Canada, Morocco, Russia, Malaysia, Thailand, Ethiopia, Guatemala, Belgium, Dominican Republic, Switzerland, Lithuania, Iceland, Italy, Spain, Ecuador, Montenegro, Cuba, Rwanda, South Korea, Haiti, Chile, Bolivia, Luxembourg, Honduras, Venezuela, Bangladesh, Portugal, Estonia, Kenya, Vietnam, Belarus, Greece, Nicaragua, Uruguay, Colombia, Finland, Zimbabwe, Peru, Tunisia, Ireland, Netherlands, Kosovo.
So, Kripal, how do you memorize them? When you see a flag, do you see a picture or do you see the name of the country instantly in your head?
First of all, it's interest of any people. Like, I have an interest in geography. I read geography books and I know the flags of these countries so well.
When did you first realize you had this superpower? And was it just a hobby or you had to memorize for school exams?
No, it was not to memorize for school exams. It was my hobby, and I have recognized it like for last 3 years, 4 years. that.
So walk us through your world record journey.
So it was amazing and wonderful. And throughout the journey, we introduced a form in the Worldwide Book of Records. And as the journey continues, we attended this record in my school, and we got that certificate and all that medals, etc.
How does it feel to represent Nepal on the global stage of the World Book of Records?
It was very proud to recognize my country, my motherland, Nepal, to recognize on the world's global. Yeah, it is so. It means that Nepalese people are also educated.
Now tell us more about yourself. Is it just flags, or are you this fast with maths, history, dates, or any other subjects?
Yeah, all subjects I got full marks in practical also, theory also, and all subjects I'm very good at, excellent at. But it's all about creativity of an normal people. Every people has an interest, and if they follow their interest, they will become success in the world.
Do you consider your talent as normal?
Yeah, it's normal for me. I don't know how other people will think about it.
Who is your biggest cheerleader?
My parents are my biggest cheerleaders. They support me in every way. They support me in every situation, and I'm very thankful to have parents like them.
Let's talk beyond your world record.
Yes.
Who is Cripple Powder, and what are your interests?
So, a cripple model is basically a normal person. My hobbies are to study about geography, to study about politics, to study about news, climates, and beyond that study, I also have interest in sports and other categories.
Okay, now let's talk about your future. You've already bagged the world record now. What's next?
After an attempt in Guinness Book of Records, and I am doing 3D animation in Blender, 2D animation in After Effects, Adobe Premiere Pro, and Illustrator also. And also, it's been great to do this.
You're interested in technology as well?
Yes. I didn't have a decision to become what in future.
Oh, you've not decided yet?
Yes. I'm so small too.
So when you think about you being an adult, what comes to your mind? What profession suits you?
I have been doing the 3D animation in the past 1 year, and I'm doing a great job in 3D animation. So my interest is 3D animation also.
So outside of flags and studying, what is Cripple's favorite thing to do?
I want to socialize with my parents, and I want to travel also. I want to travel the world's countries.
Now, here's a fun segment. I'll ask you a question. You need to answer in one word, or you can just answer it in one sentence. Are you ready?
Yes.
The first question is, which one do you think is the coolest looking or has the best color or shape?
I'm not disrespecting every flags. They are all beautiful in their people's angles. But as being a Nepali flags is a different one from all the world's flag.
Which one was the hardest to memorize?
So probably the longer words flag, it can be anything like Kyrgyzstan and maybe Uzbekistan. I saw many flags like Monaco and Indonesia. They are same. Indonesia and Poland are also same. Ireland and Cote d'Ivoire, they are also similar.
Is there a country you want to visit just because its flag is cool?
The coolest one I want to go to is Switzerland, maybe.
Switzerland, just because its flag is beautiful?
Yes.
Are you interested in just countries or the cities as well?
As learning geography, cities are also important to learn, and I'm learning about cities as well as the states as well.
Do you ever see flags in your dreams?
I haven't seen a flag in my dream.
Now we've come to the end of the show. Do you have anything that you want to share with your audience?
I'm very grateful to my parents and thankful to my parents. And also I learned 3D animation in Pixel Media, which is a company that provides you to how to learn about 3D animation, 2D animation. And I want to thank to all the members of the NTV World to giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
रामदी मेरो गाउँको नाम। धर्म, संस्कृति, सुन्दरता र शिक्षाको एउटा सुन्दर सम्मिश्रण पाइन्छ यहाँ, जुन अरू कतै बिरलै पाइन्छ।
My name is Selasti. I'm third कक्षामा पढ्छु. I'm Parvesh Bhusal. I'm from Bhutan. Now I'm living in Ramdi. I'm very happy to learn.
अति महत्त्वपूर्ण र पवित्र मानिने काली गण्डकी नदीको शीतल काखमा बसेको छ रामदी। स्याङ्जा र पाल्पा जिल्लाको केन्द्रमा पर्ने हुनाले रामदीबाट यी दुई जिल्लाका मनमोहक पहाडहरू र ससाना सुन्दर बस्तीहरू देख्न सकिन्छ। शालिग्राम नाम गरेको चम्किलो ढुङ्गा पाइने संसारकै एकमात्र काली गण्डकी नदीमा अंगिरा र वशिष्ठ नदीहरू मिसिदा बन्ने त्रिवेणीको विशेष महत्त्व छ। यस त्रिवेणीमा हरिबोधिनी एकादशी, शिवरात्रि र वैशाख संक्रान्तिका पावन अवसरमा लाग्ने विशेष मेलाहरूमा सामेल हुन पाइन्छ। रामदीमा काली गण्डकी नदी अद्भुत तरिकाले दक्षिणबाट उत्तर भई बहने उत्तर वाहिनी भएको हुँदा यस क्षेत्रको छुट्टै धार्मिक र आध्यात्मिक महत्त्व रहेको जानकारहरू बताउँछन्। यो क्षेत्र प्रसिद्ध ऋषिहरू वशिष्ठ, मार्कण्डेय, कपिलदेव र योगी नरहरिनाथको पवित्र तपोभूमि हो। योगी नरहरिनाथले 2042 सालमा गायत्री मन्त्रबाट विश्व शान्तिका लागि कोटी हवन गरेको यो ऐतिहासिक स्थलमा प्रसिद्ध ऋषि कपिलले सिद्धि प्राप्त गरेको सुनसिद्ध गुफाले आज पनि धार्मिक तथा रमणीय पर्यटकहरूको मन लोभ्याइरहेको छ। यस गुफाको सुरुङ साँघुरो भएकाले र अन्त्य पत्ता नलागेकाले यो थप आकर्षणको केन्द्र बनेको छ।
यहाँ एक स्टेप हुन्छ, त्यहाँ अर्को स्टेप हुन्छ, त्यहाँ तल्लो अझै अर्को ठुलो स्टेप छ। 1500 जना अट्ने ठाउँ छ तल।
रामदीमा थुप्रै पर्यटकीय स्थलहरू छन्। यहाँ रहेका गायत्री मन्दिर, राधाकृष्ण मन्दिर, शिव मन्दिर आदि धार्मिक आस्थाका केन्द्रहरू हुन्। सँगै रहेको गौशालामा केही समय टहल्दा पर्यटकहरूलाई बेग्लै आनन्दको अनुभूति हुन्छ। रामदीको प्रमुख आकर्षण त्यहाँ रहेको राम नदी आश्रम हो। यो आश्रममा आध्यात्म, संस्कार, कला, शिक्षा र नयाँ पुस्ता बीचको आनन्दमय सहकार्य देख्न सकिन्छ। संस्कृत भाषामा दखल राखेका नयाँ पुस्ताको योग भजन कीर्तन मात्र नभई अंग्रेजी भाषामा पकड राख्ने र पुराना भजनदेखि नयाँ गीतहरूको गायनले आश्रम घुम्न जाने हर कोहीलाई चकित र मन्त्रमुग्ध बनाइदिन्छ। यसरी प्रकृतिको कोख र नदीहरूको काखमा बसेको रामदीमा हर कोहीलाई आकर्षित र अचम्मित गर्ने धेरै अद्भुत कुराहरू रहेका छन्।
Rescue teams from the Iranian Red Crescent Society were deployed to an impact site in Tehran on March 25, 2026, following what Iranian authorities say was a US-Israeli strike. The incident occurred after Israel announced it had targeted 2 naval cruise missile production facilities linked to Iran's defense ministry. According to the Israeli military, the strikes were carried out using Air Force assets based on intelligence assessments of the site's role in developing long-range missiles. Footage shared on social media shows emergency responders searching through rubble and assisting at the scene. The strikes are part of a broader escalation, with Israel saying the operation aims to degrade Iran's military production capabilities.
Overnight Israeli airstrikes have left widespread destruction in the southern suburbs of Beirut, with images showing collapsed buildings and debris-filled streets in the Hezbollah stronghold. The strikes took place early Wednesday after the Israeli military issued evacuation warnings for several districts in the area. Israel says the attacks are part of its ongoing campaign against Hezbollah, targeting positions it claims are linked to militant activity. Local reports indicate the area had already been largely evacuated, though significant structural damage is visible across multiple neighborhoods. The strikes come amid escalating cross-border fighting between Israel and Hezbollah, raising concerns of a broader regional conflict. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko has arrived in Pyongyang for his first official visit to North Korea, marking a rare high-level engagement between the two nations. State media in Belarus said the two-day trip aims to deepen political and economic cooperation and identify joint projects. Lukashenko is expected to meet North Korean leader Kim Jong-un following an earlier encounter between the two in Beijing last year. Both countries have faced Western sanctions and have maintained close relations with Russia, particularly in the context of the ongoing war in Ukraine. The visit comes amid broader geopolitical shifts as Pyongyang seeks to expand its international partnerships while Minsk looks to strengthen ties beyond its traditional allies. In the wake of military plane crash on March 24 in southern Colombia played a key role in rescue efforts, forming human chains, transporting the injured on motorcycles, and preventing the death toll from being even higher. The government is investigating the crash, with President Gustavo Petro claiming the aging C-130 Hercules plane donated by the United States and calling for accountability. Hospitals in Bogota and nearby towns are treating dozens of injured soldiers, while forensic teams begin transferring bodies for identification. Communities across the Putumayo region have gathered to mourn, and social media has been flooded with images of the tragedy and efforts to save survivors. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is urging calm after declaring a national energy emergency, citing potential risks to the country's fuel supply and overall energy stability owing to the ongoing conflict in the Middle East.
I want to assure everyone that this does not mean that we should panic. It means that we are doing everything that we can to assess and to alleviate the situation. It is a precautionary tool so that we are ready for whatever comes next. Because lahat ng kaya natin, all the options that have been available to us, we are now exercising.
Marcos emphasized that the declaration is a proactive measure as the government monitors global developments and works to ensure sufficient energy resources for the country. The head of the International Energy Agency, IEA, Fatih Birol, says the agency is ready to move forward with an additional release of oil reserves if needed as the Iran-linked conflict fuels a global energy crisis. Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado says she is optimistic about her country's future amid efforts to attract foreign investment and rebuild democratic governance, speaking to an international media in Houston while attending the CERAWeek Global Energy Forum. Machado, a 2025 Nobel Peace Prize laureate, underscored the need for transparency, legal security, and democratic elections to restore stability and revive Venezuela's economy, particularly its vital oil sector. Her comments come as Venezuela undergoes political shifts following the ousting of longtime leader Nicolás Maduro and as interim authorities seek to open up the energy industry.
Yo estoy aquí precisamente para presentarle al mundo y sobre todo a los inversionistas de toda esta industria lo que nosotros vamos a hacer, lo que ya significa los cambios que van a venir en Venezuela y que le va a dar certezas y va a ser súper atractivo la inversión en Venezuela. Las reservas más grandes de petróleo del mundo, las octavas de gas natural, en el corazón de las Américas, una región sin conflictos bélicos. Es decir, Venezuela tiene muy bajos, competitivos costos de producción. Tiene todo. Lo que falta, obviamente, es el marco institucional y las condiciones de seguridad para inversiones a largo plazo. Y eso ya está en proceso de construirse.
Denmark faces political uncertainty after Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen's left-wing bloc won the general election but fell short of securing a majority. Her Social Democrats emerged as the largest party, yet coalition negotiations are now required to form a government. In Copenhagen, residents expressed uncertainty about which parties might ultimately join forces. One local, MLBA, said he expects Frederiksen to remain Prime Minister but is unsure whether she will align with left or right-wing partners. With multiple coalition possibilities on the table, Denmark now enters a critical period of political bargaining. Ghana is calling on Western nations to formally apologize for their role in the transatlantic slave trade as it pushes for international recognition of its enduring impact. The call comes after Ghana submitted a resolution to the United Nations General Assembly seeking to designate the slave trade as the gravest crime against humanity. Speaking in New York City, Foreign Minister Samuel Okechukwu Ablakwa emphasized that this is a moment for historical reckoning, addressing both governments and the global African diaspora about the lasting social and economic consequences of slavery.
The perpetrators of the transatlantic slave trade are known. The Europeans, the United States of America. We expect all of them to formally apologize to Africa and to all people of African descent. But when you hear some Western leaders say that this is a matter in the past, let's leave it in the past, we are only looking forward. That, with all due respect, is a very insensitive thing to say. It means that you still do not value our dignity. You do not value our self-worth. How can you just look at us in the face and say, leave these matters in the past? Why have you not left other matters in the past? Why has the Holocaust not been left in the past?
Ghana has long positioned itself as a leader in promoting African unity and confronting historical injustices, making this an important diplomatic initiative. Former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro has been granted humanitarian house arrest due to declining health, allowing him to serve his 27-year sentence for an attempted coup at home rather than in prison. The decision by Supreme Court Justice Alexander de Moraes comes after Bolsonaro's hospitalization since March 13 for pneumonia and other health complications, including recent kidney issues. The initial period of house arrest is set for 90 days, after which authorities will reassess his condition and determine whether to extend the arrangement. Bolsonaro's lawyers had long requested this measure, which the court had previously denied, while his son, Senator Flavio Bolsonaro, prepares for a possible presidential run in October. Brazilian legal experts note that the Supreme Court typically only revokes such humanitarian measures if a detainee's health improves significantly or house arrest rules are violated. Residents in Bogor took part in a vibrant post-Eid al-Fitr tradition by firing wooden cannons in a long-standing community celebration. The event brings together two villages separated by a river which compete to produce the loudest blast using cannons made from kapok trees and carbide stones. Rapid bursts echo across the area as participants take turns igniting the devices. The tradition is seen as a way to strengthen social ties and foster cooperation among residents. Local leaders say the construction of the cannons itself requires collective effort, reinforcing community bonds. Bear, an 11-year-old Australian coolie, has retired after a decade of service, saving over 100 koalas from bushfires. Trained as one of the first wildlife detection dogs in Australia, Bear helped locate koalas and other animals in need during emergencies, including the devastating 2019 Black Summer fires. The International Fund for Animal Welfare, IFAW, shared images showing Bear in action during rescues and enjoying moments of affection following his retirement in February 2026. Bear's work highlights the growing role of specially trained dogs in wildlife conservation and disaster response. His handlers lauded his dedication and called him a true hero of animal rescue efforts. The FIFA World Cup trophy has arrived in Los Angeles as part of its global tour ahead of the 2026 tournament, which will be hosted across North America. Football legend Alessandro Del Piero helped showcase the iconic trophy during its US visit, drawing fans eager for a glimpse of the prize. The tour gives supporters worldwide a chance to celebrate the sport and build excitement ahead of the tournament. Organizers say the trophy's visit aims to engage local communities and inspire young football enthusiasts. Fans in Los Angeles lined up to see the trophy and take part in related festivities marking the countdown to the 2026 World Cup.
The number of devotees collectively chanting, admiring and understanding these holy chants has reached 2 billion all across the world now. This implies that the population following Buddhism is increasing by the day. Buddhism rests upon the principle that one must be empathetic, kind, and exonerate towards all living beings. Love, brotherhood, and mutual harmony is the only way towards peace at present, when the whole world is entangled within warfare, fighting, and conflicts. Anyone seeking for peace can find it within themselves on internalizing the words and messages of Gautama Buddha. Gautama Buddha, also known as the Light of Asia, established himself as the preacher of Buddhism and enlightened the whole world with his message of peace, awareness, kindness, and wisdom. Buddha sacrificed his whole life urging for the need of truth, justice, and altruistic feeling within mankind. Gautama Buddha was born in Lumbini. It lies in the western part of Nepal in Rupandehi districts of the Lumbini zone. Lumbini has been protected under the World Cultural Heritage Site since 1997 AD. In the year 1896, the then senior officer of Palpa, Kharga Shamsher, and German expert Dr. A. Fuharer jointly carried out the work of archaeological excavation and investigation of Lumbini. After some period, archaeologists located the commemorative Ashok pillar erected by King Ashok of India during ancient period. With such facts coming in front, Lumbini caught attention of the people all around the world. Among the most significant heritages of Lumbini are Ashok Pillar and Mayadevi Temple. It is believed that Mayadevi gave birth to Siddhartha Gautam in 623 BC at the very spot where the temple is located at present. The then Mayadevi temple, however, remains only in the pictures and in imaginations. Renovation and repair works have already changed the original structure of the temple. Nevertheless, with the new structure, this temple has embraced a divine outlook in it. Not only the temple, but the whole Lumbini region is in the process of planned reconstruction and development. The visit of the then General Secretary of the United Nations Organization, U Thant, in the year 1967 brought together the notion of Lumbini Area Development Project. Under a master plan of the Japanese archaeologist Professor Kenzo Tange, the project was initiated in the year 1978. Lumbini Area Development Project Master Plan spreads in the area of 3 miles. Major attraction of this project is the Maya are kept as it is for devotees and other tourists to explore and to study. Ashoka Pillar Archaeologist Dr. A. Fuhara verified the writing. In the northern side of the Holy Garden, towards the center, lies the eternal peace flame, the peace bell, and a 3-kilometer long and 16-meter wide canal. One can also view the World Peace Pagoda from here. The canal divides the whole area into 2 sections. Towards the eastern monasteries, 13 plots are designated to Thur Buddhist and 29 plots are allocated to Mahayani Buddhist in the western monasteries. In eastern region, various countries and Thur Buddhist organizations have constructed a number of monasteries following their native architectural texture. Myanmar, Sri Lankan, Indian, Cambodian and Thai government, including Nepalese, have constructed stupas and guest houses in these areas following the agreement with Lumbini Development Trust. Similarly, most of the western plots have been occupied with similar stupas, monasteries, guest houses and meditation centers constructed by various organizations or Government of Nepal, China, Vietnam, France, Japan, Austria, Bhutan and Mongolia, among other nations. In these monasteries, Buddhists perform their regular worship, enchantments and meditations according to their own customs. In the northern side of the new Lumbini village area, is the 41.5 meter long and 49 meter cylindrical World Peace Pagoda. Fujiguru of Japan is said to have constructed similar pagodas in different locations all over the world during his journey of finding peace. World Peace Pagoda was designed by Japanese architect Dr. Minoru Ohuka. This pagoda came into operation since 1995. Built in traditional Japanese design, the upper part of this pagoda holds metallic artifacts exhibiting the birth of Lord Buddha. Lumbini Museum and Lumbini International Research Center are other important places to visit once one reaches Lumbini. These buildings, constructed in pagoda style, portray an architectural masterpiece in themselves. Inside Lumbini Museum, the archaeological remains found during the excavation of Lumbini area are preserved inside a large hall. One can easily gather information about the birthplace of Lord Buddha and the then contemporary society and culture exploring these heritages. Within the building designed by Professor Kenzi Tange himself, Lumbini International Research Center has been established. More than 3,500 research materials and texts on Buddha, Buddhism, history, philosophy, knowledge and teachings of Buddha can be found here. For the visitors' comfort, the center has provided the facility to read texts on different languages, including Sanskrit, Chinese, Japanese, Turkmen, Burmese, Thai, Nepali, and Nepal languages. This palace is located around 27 kilometers far from Lumbini. Lord Buddha, as the prince, spent 29 years of his life in this palace. Prince Siddhartha Gautama abandoned the royal livelihood in search of Mahanirvana, or enlightenment. In the year 1898 AD, Indian archaeologist P.C. Mukherjee, following the description of Chinese traveler Hu Yansanga, and unveiled the unknown facts about Tilaurakot after his 4-month-long research and excavation works. He mentioned that the Tilaurakot Palace stretched in the area of 1,700 feet north-south and 1,300 feet east-west direction, was surrounded by walls up to 8 to 12 feet. The main entrance gate had Buddha stupas and monasteries in both the sides. All these buildings are under excavation and protection at present. Mukherjee has also maintained that King Suddhodana ruled his kingdom from the same palace. Hence, no doubt remains on the fact that the present Tilaurakot was ancient Kapilvastu. Archaeological debris as well as ancient palace and east-west entrance constructed since 4th century BC to 2nd century BC can be observed vividly now as well. Another historical site of Lumbini is Kudan, also known as Lauri Kudan, around 28 kilometers southwest of Lumbini. Myths have it that Lord Gautama Buddha met his father King Suddhodana at this very spot for the first time on returning to his hometown Kapilvastu after attaining enlightenment. Others say Prajapati Gautami, Gautam Buddha's foster mother, handed him Kayas Vastra at this place. Some others also claim that at this very site, Gautama Buddha's son Rahul transformed into Buddhism and turned a saint. Inscription held the existence of 4 walls and 1 buried well at this place. However, only 3 walls can be seen at present. According to Dewala Mitra, on the southern side of this lies one rectangular wall, and another wall has a snake temple on the top of it. In the largest wall, located at northeast direction, idol of Lord Shiva and the remains of other idols can be seen at the top. "500 meters north of King Suddhodana's palace lay 2 stupas. Experts say these stupas are the graves of King Suddhodana and his queen Maya Devi. The larger stupa has the area of 52 feet and is 75 feet high, whereas the smaller one has the area of 26 feet. The larger stupa is said to be constructed in the 4th century BC and was reconstructed 3 times during the 2nd and the 1st century BC. Similarly, the smaller stupa is believed to have been constructed in between the 2nd and the 1st century BC. Devadaha, that lies in Bhawanipur of Rupandehi, is said to be the maternal home of Siddhartha Gautama. Inscriptions say that Siddhartha Gautam spent 7 years of his childhood in Devadaha. Also, it is believed that he, upon attaining enlightenment, paid a visit to Devadaha. Devadaha is also popularly regarded as the maternal home of Queen Maya Devi, Queen Prajapati, and Princess Yasodhara. 10 idols are established in a single row in the eastern wall. However, the structure of all other idols besides one of the sun god in the center is unclear. This place, serving as an open museum, still needs a rigorous research and study to explore more about Kolia Kingdom. Ramgram Monastery has been constructed in the sidelines of Jharahi River towards 4 kilometers southeast of Parasi of Nawalparasi district. 7 meters in height, this monastery was constructed, establishing one metallic remains of Lord Buddha in its base. This monastery is one among the 8 monasteries constructed worldwide with the metallic remains in their base. This monastery was constructed upon the order of the king of Ramgram. He was the 8th king to receive the remains of Lord Buddha. Buddhist religious texts say that King Ashoka was in his mission of collecting remains of Lord Buddha from all 8 monasteries to construct the 84,000 stupas. But he was not allowed to extort the remains of Lord Buddha from Ramgram Monastery. Around 9 kilometers north from Tilaurakot lies a pond named Sagarwa or Lambu Sagar. The pond has high significance with regard to its archaeological value. This pond is popularly recognized as the spot where Koshal rural king Naresh Birudhak killed the thousands of Shakyas at the same time during the 5th century BC. Inscriptions have it that this pond extends 1,059 feet towards the length and 225 feet towards the breadth and was discovered in 1895 AD. However, only few remains and a mark of the pond can be traced here at present. Gotihawa is renowned as the birthplace of Manushi Krakuchandra Buddha. It is also said that Krakuchandra Buddha met his father at the very place after attaining nirvana. Debris of Ashoka pillar, ancient well, bricks and other remains can be retrieved in the buried form from here. Major Wada and P.C. Mukherjee excavated Gotihawa in 1895 AD and mentioned that Krakuchandra Buddha was born here. Araurakot is an ancient town situated 8 kilometers northeast of Taulihawa. Araurakot is regarded as the location of Kanak Muni Buddha, but scientific research is necessary to trace further facts of this town. Meanwhile, manuscripts have it that Niglihawa, 7 kilometers far in the northern side of Taulihawa, is the birthplace of Kanak Muni Buddha. It is the same place where he got enlightenment. They also say that archaeologist Dr. Fuhara discovered inscriptions in ancient stupas at this very place. In the western side of Nigli Sagar, one of the Ashoka pillars can be seen in 2 pieces. In an inscription written in Brahmi script, Pali language, it is mentioned that King Ashoka erected this pillar when he reached Kapil Vastu. When he reached Kapil Vastu Lumbini during the 3rd century BC. King Ashoka was said to be in pilgrimage. These pillars, 15 feet long, have engraved figure of peacock in one of the pillar and another has Om Mani Padme Hum carved in it. This holy land of Buddha has a large number of places and objects of historical and archaeological importance. Many are still under the grave of Mother Earth, left to be extracted and excavated. After watching this documentary about Holy Land of Lord Buddha, you need not reach far to realize peace. Reaching this sacred birthplace of Lord Buddha will be enough to experience eternal peace. This holy land is the source of world peace. Lumbini is the center of serenity and harmony among all the people in the world. World Cultural Heritage Site and Shakya sage Gautama Buddha's birthplace is a precious gift for the whole world.
कसैले पनि अब व्हीलचेयरमै चाहिँ बन्जी गर्नुभएको छैन।
अहिले चाहिँ आई एम भेरी एक्साइटेड।
रमाइलो
यस 2 1 बन्जी।
डिफ्रेन्ट आइडियाहरू हुन्छ हाम्रो, जस्तै अब खुट्टामा लगाएर नर्मली जम्प गर्नुपर्ने, उहाँहरूले चाहिँ हामी बडीमा मात्रै लगाएर जम्प गराउँछौँ।
लेट्स गो।
Famous, the last resort, offering adventurous thrill over Bhotekosi River in Sindhupalchok district of central Nepal. From the launch pad, a suspension bridge over the river, a free fall 160 meters down the gorge. This bridge had been the launch pad for the courageous and adventure seekers for years. But on this day, the jump was not just about adrenaline rush, but also about defiance, about breaking the barriers. Dilip, a fierce advocate for inclusive tourism, has spent years pushing boundaries, paragliding, ziplining, even bungee jumping without a chair.
अपङ्गता भइसके पछाडी म आफूलाई कसरी रिफ्रेश बनाउने त, आफै चाहिँ कसरी ह्याप्पी हुन्छु भनेर आफैले आफैलाई बुझ्दाखेरि चाहिँ मैले घुम्दा ट्राभलहरू गर्दा एडभेन्चरहरू गर्दा अझ म बढी आफै खुसी भएको पाएँ। अनि त्यस पछाडी चाहिँ मलाई बन्जी, मैले प्याराग्लाइडिङहरू गरेँ। प्याराग्लाइडिङहरू गरिसके पछाडी बन्जी पनि गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने लाग्यो अनि मैले बन्जी गरेँ। बन्जी गरेपछि होइन अब यो बन्जीलाई पनि एकचोटि व्हीलचेयरमा पनि बन्जी गर्नुपर्छ हैन। नेपालमा म चाहिँ अपङ्गता भएका साथीहरूले चाहिँ एडभेन्चरकोमा चाहिँ अलिक पछाडी देखिने, उहाँहरू खासै त्यति धेरै एडभेन्चरहरू गर्नलाई, खेलहरू त्यस्तो खेलहरू खेल्नलाई डराउने, यस्तो हुन्छ उस्तो हुन्छ भन्ने उहाँहरूको चाहिँ मेन्टालिटी पनि थियो र त्यो मेन्टालिटीलाई पनि चिर्नुपर्छ। मैले यो सकिन्छ, हामीले पनि खेल्न सक्छौँ, गर्न सक्छौँ र एउटा चाहिँ समावेशी पर्यटनलाई पनि यो एउटा वकालत पनि हुन्छ। नेपाल सरकार लगायत सम्बन्धित निकायलाई यो वकालतको पनि एडभोकेसी पनि गर्न सकिन्छ भन्ने उद्देश्य राखेर मैले चाहिँ बन्जी गरेको।
Sisir, an agricultural entrepreneur living with spinal paralysis, has turned his challenges into advocacy.
म अनेस्टली भन्नुपर्दा यो चाहिँ पुरै अनप्लान्ड नै हो हैन। जति पनि मेरो लाइफमा म जति पनि एडभेन्चर अथवा उ गर्छु हैन, त्यति धेरै प्लान गरेर चाहिँ गर्दिम भनेपछि गर्दिम भन्ने टाइपले चाहिँ यसको लागि चाहिँ म विशेष धन्यवाद हाम्रो दिलीप सरलाई म दिन चाहन्छु है। उहाँले मलाई थाहा नै नदिकन ल आज जाम भनेर भन्नुभयो। मैले आज भोलि हामी बन्जी जम्प गर्दैछौँ भनेर हिजो दोलालघाट आइपुगेपछि, हामी काठमाडौँबाट हिँडेको मान्छे दोलालघाट आइपुगेपछि थाहा पाएको। सो अब गरौँ न त, आइसक्यो भनेर चाहिँ हैन एउटा अनुभव पनि हुन्छ लाइफमा। हामी जस्तो अपाङ्गता भएको व्यक्तिले पनि गर्न सकिन्छ है भन्ने टाइपले हैन। अनि त्यहाँबाट अरूलाई मोटिभेट गर्नलाई साथसाथै अब आफ्नो पनि एउटा रिफ्रेसमेन्टको लागि चाहिँ अब आज हामी बन्जी जम्प गर्न जाँदैछौँ।
Together, the goal was clear: to inspire thousands and redefine what people with disabilities can achieve. A wheelchair bungee jump was no ordinary feat. It demanded innovation, precision, and absolute commitment. The team designed a secure rigging system, checked every bolt and knot, ensuring the wheelchairs and harnesses could withstand the extreme forces.
सेटअप अब खासै त्यस्तो डिफ्रेन्ट त होइन, उहाँहरूको अब स्पेसल अलिकति समस्या भएर त्यो अनुसारको सेफ तरिकाले गर्ने अर्को डिफ्रेन्ट आइडियाहरू हुन्छ हाम्रो। जस्तै अब खुट्टामा लाएर नर्मली जम्प गर्नुपर्ने, उहाँहरूले चाहिँ हामी बडीमा मात्रै लाएर जम्प गराउँछौँ। सो खुट्टामा चाहिँ केही पनि प्रेसर पर्दैन, ढाडमा पनि कम प्रेसर पर्छ। सो त्यसरी गर्दा चाहिँ उहाँलाई एकदम कम्फर्टेबल हुन्छ। अनि प्लस अब उहाँले अब तल गएर तान्नुपर्ने हुक गर्नुपर्ने कुराहरू हुन्छ, सकेसम्म उहाँहरूले ट्राई गर्नु भएन भने हामी एकजना रेस्क्यु स्ट्यान्ड बाई हुन्छ। अनि त्यसको लागि चाहिँ हामी अलिक प्रिपेयर गरेर गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ। अब सेफ्टीको हिसाबले अलिकति डिफ्रेन्ट तरिका चाहिँ अपनाउनु पऱ्यो हामीले।
This was not a stunt, it was proof that adventure can be made accessible.
34औं अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय अपाङ्गता दिवस हो। सो यो अपाङ्गता दिवसकै दिनमा चाहिँ के एउटा चाहिँ एडभेन्चर गरौँ हैन। अब कसैले पनि अब व्हीलचेयरमै चाहिँ बन्जी गर्नुभएको छैन, त्यसको लागि पनि एउटा चाहिँ पहिलोचोटि गर्दै हेर अरू साथीहरूलाई पनि एउटा चाहिँ इन्करेज गरौँ भन्ने चाहना हो खास।
At the edge of the platform, silence fell. Dilip rolled forward first. The count began.
Happy International Disability Day, all of you.
A symbol of confinement transformed into a vessel of freedom, probably the first ever wheelchair bungee jump in Nepal.
Promax bungee! खासै अहिले चाहिँ पुरा म नर्मल चाहिँ एकदम चिलमा छु हैन। अब यहाँ हामफाल्दाखेरि चाहिँ कस्तो हुन्छ, म हामफालिसकेपछि चाहिँ अनुभव सुनाउँछु। अहिले चाहिँ आई एम भेरी एक्साइटेड। आई एम गोइङ टु डु समथिङ फर माइसेल्फ हैन। आई एम गोइङ टु डु माई फर्स्ट बन्जी अफ माई लाइफ। So I'm very excited.
Then came Cecir's turn. With equal determination, he embraced the drop.
Well, let's go.
His leap cemented the moment, not a solo feat, but a shared victory.
Yes. उहाँले आर यु रेडी भन्नुभयो। मैले ठिक छ म रेडी भने मैले आँखा चिम्म गरिदिएँ। अनि त्यसपछि ठ्याक्कै उहाँले 1 2 3 जम्प भन्नुभयो। उहाँले पुस गरिदिनु भयो मलाई। म पुस गरेको आँखा चिम्मको चिम्म तल पुगेपछि ठ्याक्क त्यो डोरीले तान्छ नि, तानेर माथि आएपछि त्यो समय चाहिँ मैले यस्तो फिल गरेँ कि म बाँचेँ हैन। मसँग अब चाहिँ सबै चिजहरू मसँग फेरि पनि छ र मलाई चाहिँ एकदमै आनन्द त्यो टाइमको त्यो 2 सेकेन्ड 3 सेकेन्डको एउटा चाहिँ ह्याप्पिनेस, एउटा त्यो रिफ्रेस, एउटा त्यो फिलले चाहिँ एकदमै ह्याप्पी दियो क्या मलाई। इनर्जी भित्रदेखि मसँग भइरहेको सिद्धिरहेको एउटा चाहिँ इनर्जीलाई ठ्याक्क दियो। त्यो झर्दाखेरिको चाहिँ मेरो माइन्ड पुरै रिसेट भइदियो जस्तो भयो क्या। केही पनि छैन, म एकदमै एकदम निल, मसँग केही पनि छैन, रित्तियो सकियो। मैले सबै चिज छोडिदिएर म झरिसकेको थिएँ, हाम फालिसकेको थिएँ। तर पुगेर ठ्याक्क तानेर ल्याउँदाखेरि चाहिँ त्यो एउटा मुभमेन्ट चाहिँ मेरो लाइफको चाहिँ एकदम इन्जोयफुल मुभमेन्ट हो, जसले चाहिँ मलाई चाहिँ आजको दिनसम्म अझ धेरै उत्प्रेरणाहरू जगाएको एउटा मुभमेन्ट हो। त्यो मुभमेन्ट चाहिँ मेरो लागि एकदम मेमोरियल पनि छ।
Dilip and Cecir's jump was more than a thrill. It was a loud scream demanding change, a call for accessible tourism.
एक्सेसिबिलिटीकै कुराहरू हुन्छ क्या हजुरको। जस्तो अब मैले पोखरामा प्याराग्लाइडिङ गर्दाखेरि, कायाकिङ गर्दाखेरि होइन, अप्पर मुस्ताङ चाहिँ हजुरको चाहिँ त्यो अफ रोड गाडीमै जाँदाखेरिको कुराहरूमा चाहिँ अलिकति एक्सेसेबल, अलिकति हामीलाई चाहिँ पहुँचयुक्त चाहिँ ठाउँहरू भएदेखि अलिकति सजिलो हुन्थ्यो भनौँ न। अब यो झोलुङ्गे पुलहरूबाट गरिन्छ होइन, त्यहाँ चाहिँ हल्का ऱ्याम्प के जस्तो व्हिलचेयरकै लागि पनि एउटा स्ट्र्याप राख्दाखेरि त काठको एउटा भनौँ न त्यो फ्लोरिङ जस्तै टाइपले गरिदियो भने त हेल्प गर्ने, असिस्ट गर्नेलाई पनि सजिलो हुने अनि हामीलाई पनि सजिलो हुने चाहिँ हुन्छ।
प्राकृतिक, धार्मिक तथा सांस्कृतिक रूपमा धनी शैलुङमा तपाईलाई हार्दिक स्वागत छ। यहाँको भौगोलिक इतिहास निकै आश्चर्य लाग्दो छ। प्रथम बुद्ध साङ्गेले स्वर्गबाट झरेर प्रवचन दिनुभएकाले पहिले यस ठाउँलाई साङ्गेलुङ भनिन्थ्यो। पछि अपभ्रंश भएर शैलुङ भनिएको हो। यस ठाउँमा 5औं बुद्ध पद्मसम्भवाएर लामो समय तपस्या गर्नुभएको किम्वदन्ती छ। हिन्दू धर्मको कहावत अनुसार पहिला ऋषि मुनिहरू यहाँ आएर तपस्या गर्थे। कलियुग सुरु भएपछि पाप देख्न नपरोस् भनेर प्रत्येक ठाउँमा ऋषिमुनि अलग भए र यी ठाउँमा थुम्का निस्किए। तपाईँ हामी अहिले यस्ता 108 भन्दा बढी अवलोकन गर्न सक्छौं। यदि तपाईँ यी थुम्कामा पुग्नुभयो भने त्यहाँबाट नेपालका 60% हिम श्रृङ्खला हेरेर आनन्द लिन सक्नुहुन्छ। महालङ्गुर, रोलबालिङ, अन्नपूर्ण हिम श्रृङ्खलाहरू तपाईलाई हेरेर चम्किनेछन्। शैलुङले सिजन नै पछि आफ्नो रूप फेर्छ। तपाईँ हिउँदमा आउनुभयो भने हिउँसित खेल्न सक्नुहुन्छ। चैत वैशाखमा आउनुभयो भने गुराँससित मेतेरी लगाउन सक्नुहुन्छ। शैलुङमा तपाईँ 100 भन्दा बढी जडीबुटीको अध्ययन गर्न सक्नुहुन्छ। चौरी डुलाउने प्रचलित ठाउँ पनि हो यो। यदि तपाईँ साबाखर्क भन्ने ठाउँमा बिहान पुग्नु भयो भने अवश्य चौरी गाई देख्न सक्नुहुन्छ। चौरी गोठमा पोसिलो चौरीको दुध पिउँदाको आनन्द अनि यहाँको छुर्पी तपाईँ अवश्य बिर्सनुहुन्न। लेकाली भेग भएकाले यहाँको अन्नबालीमा पनि विविधता देख्न सकिन्छ। 6 महिना लगाएर फल्ने यहाँका आलु मुडे लगिन्छ। यहाँबाट प्रचलित मुडेको आलु तपाईँ कहाँ आइपुग्छ। शैलुङको सांस्कृतिक विविधता पनि तपाईलाई रोचक लाग्ला। यहाँ बहुजातीय समाज छ। तामाङ, मगर, गुरुङ, छेत्री, बाहुन, थामी, नेवार आदिको मिश्रित समाजमा तपाईले मानिसहरू मिलेर गाउँ विकास गरेको देख्न सक्नुहुन्छ। अझै तपाईलाई साहसिक खेल मन पर्छ भने यहाँका गुफाहरूले तपाईलाई पर्खिरहेका छन्। यस्तो रोमाञ्चक ठाउँ काठमाडौँबाट 120 किलोमिटर दूरीमा मात्र छ। तपाईँ काठमाडौँबाट धुरीखेल, दोलालघाट, खाडी चौर, मुडे हुँदै दोलखाको यो रमणीय स्थल पुग्न सक्नुहुन्छ। खान बस्नका लागि यहाँका आधुनिक होटलहरू र हिँड्न डुल्नका लागि बनाइएका फराकिलो बाटोले तपाईलाई पर्खिरहेका छन्। सैलुङमा तपाईलाई फेरि पनि स्वागत छ।
मुन्डीमा नाना बाइसी रोगामी मुन्डीमा नाना बाइसी रोगामी
Government to release investigation findings of September 8 and 9 high-level report on Nepal Children's Organization to be made public. Nepal's senior-most lawmaker Arjun Narsingh is sworn in to lead House procedures ahead of full parliamentary oath ceremony. Parliament Secretariat finalizes historic swearing-in ceremony for 50 lawmakers taking their oaths in record number of mother tongues. Iran rejects 15-point US proposal delivered via Pakistan, issues 5 conditions including full war reparations. National energy emergency declared in Philippines amid escalating conflict in the Middle East. President Marcos says alternative sources being sought for. And National Sports Council suspends All Nepal Football Association leadership for 3 months over repeated failure to follow directives. Good evening, I am Sarah Sapsanamarai and this is NTV World News Hour coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours Nepal time. Now the news in detail. In a significant move toward administrative transparency, Prime Minister Sushila Karki has decided to make several high-level investigative reports accessible to the public. The Prime Minister today authorized the release of the Inquiry Commission report regarding the sensitive events of September 8 and 9.
The document will be formally archived, in fact, in the Federal Parliament Secretariat's library for public record. This follows a similar decision made yesterday to release the High-Level Commission Report 2077 BS into the Nepal Children's Organization and the Bal Mandir case. Beyond these investigations, the government is moving forward with the Good Governance Roadmap 2082. Press advisor Ram Bahadur Rawal confirmed the Prime Minister's office will lead the implementation of this framework, which aims to overhaul civil service accountability and public delivery. Now, Nepal has taken an important step in its parliamentary transition. Senior-most lawmaker Arjun Narsingh, a 78-year-old Nepali Congress leader, was sworn in before President Ramchandra Paudel and has begun his duties at the Federal Parliament Secretariat. According to the Constitution, all lawmakers must take oath before joining proceedings. Until a Speaker and Deputy Speaker are elected, the eldest member chairs sessions, now a role held by KC. Preparations are underway for the swearing-in of remaining 274 members of House of Representatives. This process sets the stage for forming a new government, with a new Prime Minister expected later this week. The Federal Parliament Secretariat has finalized arrangements for tomorrow's swearing-in of the House of Representatives at 2 p.m. In a break from tradition, the ceremony will take place in the multipurpose hall of the under-construction Parliament building in Singha Darbar. This new legislative body features over 250 first-time members, with more than 50 opting to take their oath in their mother language. This follows the landmark March 5th victory of Rashtriya Swatantra Party. Looking ahead to Friday, senior leader Balendra Shah will be sworn in as Prime Minister in a ceremony featuring 108 Vedic scholars and Buddhist chants. We'll have a detailed look on this in our issue of the day later in the bulletin. Now, President Ramchandra Paudel has called for unity and accountability following the country's recent national elections. Speaking at an event hosted by the Election Commission Nepal in Kathmandu, the President said the public mandate has placed a significant responsibility on elected representatives. He emphasized the need for collective efforts to advance freedom, social justice, good governance and economic prosperity. Paudel also urged political actors to work together to improve living standards and strengthen Nepal's Federal Democratic Republic. At the same program, Prime Minister Sushila Karki highlighted the successful conduct of the 2082 parliamentary elections, noting that no repolling was required across the country. Karki stressed that this standard of peaceful and credible elections should be maintained in the future. Meanwhile, Acting Chief Election Commissioner Ram Prasad Bhandari said the election was completed on schedule despite multiple challenges, reinforcing institutional credibility.
निर्वाचन मार्फत जनताले प्रकट गरेको स्वतन्त्रता, सामाजिक न्याय, सुशासन, विकास र मुलुकको समृद्धिका लागि एकजुट भएर काम गर्नुपर्ने ठूलो दायित्व अब जनप्रतिनिधिको काँधमा आएको छ। लोकतन्त्रमा मत फरक हुन सक्छन्, तर राष्ट्र निर्माणको साझा लक्ष्यमा सबै नेपालीको एउटै मत हुनेछ भन्ने मैले विश्वास लिएको छु।
On the international front, Tehran has dismissed a 15-point U.S. peace proposal, labeling the terms excessive and countered with 5 specific conditions to end the current conflict. The Iranian counter-offer demands a conclusion to the war across all fronts and full reparations, while the U.S. plan reportedly offered the lifting of sanctions in exchange for the dismantling of nuclear facilities. Israeli officials described the proposal as unlikely to gain Iranian approval. Amid the diplomatic deadlock, Pentagon has confirmed the deployment of U.S. ground troops to the region, though their specific location remains undisclosed. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has declared a national energy emergency due to the war involving Iran, which has disrupted global oil supplies. The government plans to secure new sources and add 1 million barrels of oil to existing reserves, currently enough for 45 days. The crisis is driven in fact by soaring fuel prices and supply shocks linked to tensions affecting the Strait of Hormuz. The Philippines, heavily reliant on imported oil, is among the hardest hit. Emergency powers now allow the government to control distribution of fuel and essential goods and directly purchase supplies. While business leaders support the move, labor groups like Kilusang Mayo Uno warn it could restrict worker protests and signal policy failures. The measure paves the way for broader economic interventions as the country braces for prolonged energy instability.
I want to assure everyone that this does not mean that we should panic. It means that we are doing everything that we can to assess and to alleviate the situation. It is a precautionary tool so that we are ready for whatever comes next. Because lahat ng kaya natin, all the options that have been available to us, we are now exercising.
Meanwhile, Marcos has said he is working to secure new sources of oil following the decision to issue a national energy emergency. And we'll look more into detail of the global energy crisis in our cover story later in the bulletin. Now, Nepal's National Sports Council has officially suspended the executive leadership of the All Nepal Football Association, ENFA, for a period of 3 months. The move freezes the powers of President Pankaj Vikram Nemwang following what the council calls repeated defiance of official directives. The dispute centers, in fact, on ENFA's attempt to hold early elections this week without council approval. After ENFA ignored a final 24-hour ultimatum to halt the process, the NSA invoked the sports development regulations to seize control. An ad hoc committee is expected to be formed shortly to oversee daily operations and manage a legally compliant election. We're going for a short break, but after the break, Nepal's federal parliament gears up for tomorrow's swearing-in of newly elected lawmakers, this time inside a temporary hall at Singadarwar due to unfinished facilities. And a key update, there's now no obstacle for RSP Chief Ravi Lamichhane to take the oath as a Member of Parliament despite earlier legal controversy. Stay with us for Issue of the Day. You're watching News Hour here on NTV World. Time now for Issue of the Day. The Federal Parliament Secretariat has finalized all arrangements for the swearing-in ceremony of newly elected members of the House of Representatives. The ceremony is set for tomorrow at 2 p.m. local time. In a departure from tradition, the oath will be administered in the multi-purpose hall of the under-construction Federal Parliament building in Singadarwar. It's a move necessitated by the lack of completed facilities. Spokesperson Ekram Giri confirmed that the multi-purpose hall has been temporarily equipped with essential sound and security systems to serve as a functional legislative chamber.
व्यवस्थापन एकदमै चुनौतीपूर्ण भइरहेछ 280-90 भन्दा बढी सिट अड्दैन त्यो हलमा बहुउद्देश्य हलमा हैन 275 त सदस्य हुनु नै भइहाल्यो अब त्यसकारण एकदम चुनौतीपूर्ण छ अर्को कुरा भोलि शपथ मात्रै हो अधिवेशन आह्वान भएको छैन बैठक बसे पछाडी यसमा केही सुधारहरू गर्नुपर्ने अवस्था छ भोलि शपथ मात्रै भएकोले त्यत्रो बढी नै गर्नुपर्ने अवस्था छैन सत्तापक्ष र प्रतिपक्ष भनेर भोलि सिट व्यवस्थापन गरेर जरुरी पनि छैन किनभने सरकार बने पछाडी बल्ल यो सत्तापक्ष अनि प्रतिपक्ष लगायतको सिट व्यवस्थापन हुन्छ.
This transition follows the historic March 5 general elections, which saw a landslide victory for Rashtriya Swatantra Party, signalling a major shift in the country's political landscape. Now, the Federal Parliament Secretariat has cleared the way for Ravi Lamichhane to take his oath as Member of Parliament. Despite past suspensions related to money laundering allegations, Secretariat spokesperson Ekram Giri confirmed that there are no legal hurdles following Lamichhane's recent re-election. Now, Balendra Shah, a senior leader of Rashtriya Swatantra Party, is said to be sworn in as the country's new Prime Minister on March 27th. The ceremony is scheduled for 12:34 p.m. local time and will be marked by a blend of state protocol and cultural symbolism. Sources within RSP confirmed that the inauguration will feature the sounding of 7 conch shells along with Vedic recitations by 108 scholars and Buddhist chants by 16 monks. Following the formal oath, Shah is expected to assume office at the Prime Minister's Secretariat in Singadarwar by 2:15 p.m. Now, with over 250 first-timers, the newly elected members of the lower house are all set to take their oath of office and secrecy tomorrow. More than 50 have chosen to take their oath in their mother language this time. As the lawmakers choose their mother tongue, Parliament Secretariat faces another problem: lack of official translation service, leaving the translated version of the oath to the lawmaker concerned. Sabika Shrestha looks into the scenario on the eve of the swearing-in ceremony.
The scene is set and the venue is all prepared. The 274 members of the newly elected House of Representatives, sans senior most member Arjun Narsingh Kesi, will take their oath of office and secrecy Thursday. The ceremony will be mass swearing of the parliamentarians, where majority are youths and first-timers. Of the 274 lawmakers, 54 lawmakers have chosen to take their oath of office and secrecy in their mother tongue.
Many MPs this time they're taking their oaths on their mother tongue. So for me, I'm also interested, and I'm also taking my oath on my mother tongue because culturally it has attached with me, and we need to promote and we need to secure our languages. So for this, and also for the influence for upcoming generations.
Spokesperson at the Parliament Secretariat Ekram Giri said while lawmakers are allowed to take their oath in their native languages, the official statement must also be recorded in Nepali. While the oath-taking in mother tongue reflects country's lingual diversity as well as constitutional freedom, the Parliament Secretariat faces one problem. Lack of official translation service in the Parliament Secretariat means the oath text deciphered in the mother tongue will be prepared by the lawmakers themselves. Authenticity of the translated text from the base Nepali language is all up to the lawmakers concerned.
उहाँहरूले आफ्नो मातृभाषामा शपथ गर्नुहुन्छ, गर्न पाउनुहुन्छ, गर्न सक्नुहुन्छ। उहाँहरूले त्यो गरिसके पछाडि आफ्नो मातृभाषाको शपथ जुन अनुवाद गर्नुभएको छ उक्त प्रति र सँगसँगै राखिएको नेपाली देवनागरी लिपिको प्रति दुवैमा हस्ताक्षर गरेर सचिवालयलाई उपलब्ध गराउनुपर्ने हुन्छ। हामीसँग अनुवाद इकाइ अथवा हामीसँग अनुवाद गर्ने त्यस्तो सुविधा छैन र कानुनले पनि उहाँहरू आफूले अनुवाद गरेर त्यो गरेको अनुवाद ठिक छ भनेर सही छाप गरेर उपलब्ध गराउनुपर्ने हुन्छ। त्यसकारण उहाँले जो अनुवाद गर्नुभएको छ त्यो ठिकै छ।
However, the decision has drawn mixed reactions from the public, with some questioning its appropriateness in a formal state function.
बेकारको त्यो पब्लिसिटी स्टन्ट मात्रै हो क्या यो चाहिँ। शपथ भन्ने कुरा त पक्कै पनि जनताको भोटबाट आइसकेपछि एउटा सार्वजनिक पद हो नि त हैन, सबैलाई बुझ्ने सबैलाई हुनु पर्यो नि त। आफ्नो आफ्नो हिसाबको गीत गाउन थालेर कहाँ हुन्छ त यस्तो हैन पब्लिक फिगरले।
Not just mother tongue. One lawmaker has even opted to take the oath in Sanskrit language, with many doubting if that is her mother language. Irrespective of the debate, more than 250 first-timers will be sworn in as the country's lawmakers Thursday in a colorful ceremony. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Samir Thapa reporting for NTV World.
And in this context, in our Public Pulse segment, we've asked what their say was on MPs choosing their mother language for oath. Let's have a look.
उहाँले आफ्नो भाषामा एकदम मातृभाषामा शपथ ग्रहण लिनु कुनै औँठो कुरा हैन। म त के भन्छु भने मात्र शपथ ग्रहण मात्रै हैन, भोलि संसदको काम कार्यवाहीमा पनि उहाँले दोभाषा राखेर मातृभाषामा बोल्नु पर्यो। अहिलेको नयाँ पुस्ताले जान्दै जाएन आफ्नो मातृभाषा के हो भन्ने कुरा। त्यो कुरा सिकाउनु पर्यो। सिकाउने कसले भन्दा उहाँहरूले नै हो, सांसदहरूले नै हो। त्यसले गर्दा यो नराम्रो कुरा हैन, एकदम राम्रो कुरा हो, एकदम स्वागतयोग्य कुरा हो। यो
मातृभाषामा शपथ लिनु भनेको एउटा आफ्नो नैसर्गिक अधिकार हो। उहाँले मातृभाषामा शपथ लिन पाउनुपर्छ। तर नेपालको राष्ट्रभाषा भएको हुनाले चाहिँ यो नेपाली कामकाजको काममा चाहिँ मातृभाषालाई भन्दा राष्ट्रभाषालाई नै जोड दिँदाखेरि अझ विशेष राम्रो होला जस्तो लाग्छ मेरो विचारमा।
जब हामीले भाषाको मान्यता दिइसकेका छौँ भने हैन, सबैको आफ्ना आफ्नै किसिमको संस्कार छ। संसद भनेकै त्यस्तै चिज त हो नि हैन र। सबै भन्नु न त्यहाँ नेवारहरू हुनुहुन्छ के हुनुहुन्छ हैन, अब तराईका हुनुहुन्छ हुनुहुन्छ, अब हाम्रो अब राई लिम्बूहरू हुनुहुन्छ, उहाँहरू हुन्छ। सबैको यो देश त हामी सबैको नै हो। यो एकजना जातको त होइन। तर आफ्नो भाषामा गऱ्यो भने पनि उहाँहरूले पनि नि कमसेकम नि मेन नेपाली भाषालाई चाहिँ माया गर्न चाहिँ सिक्नु पर्यो है। नेपाली भाषालाई कसरी प्रमोट गर्ने त्यो पनि हुनु पर्यो कि खालि आफ्नो भाषा मात्रै भनेर त भएन नि।
एक हिसाबले हेर्दाखेरि ठिकै पनि हो। मेरो विचारमा चाहिँ नेपाली भाषामा त दिनै पर्छ, सँगसँगै आफ्नो मातृभाषामा दिँदा अझै राम्रो हुन्छ। किनभने नेपाल बहुभाषी बहुजाति भएको देश हो, जसकारणले गर्दा राम्रो हुन्छ। तर नेपालीमा चाहिँ गर्नुपर्छ।
आफ्नो यो मातृभाषामा लिएको चाहिँ केही नेगेटिभ कुरा चाहिँ छैन, किनभने नेपाल भनेको चाहिँ अब कल्चरली डाइभर्स पनि हो नि त। जसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ यसमा चाहिँ सपोर्ट नै छ, राम्रो नै छ।
मातृभाषामा दिनु भनेको अब हाम्रो संस्कृतिहरूको जगेर्ना गर्नु हो, हाम्रो भाषा संस्कृतिहरूलाई बचाइराख्नुपर्छ। अब यो चाहिँ एउटा सुरुवात हो, राम्रो कुरा हो। मलाई चाहिँ राम्रो नै लाग्यो जे होस्।
यो सकारात्मक हो, यसलाई नेगेटिभ रूपले सोच्नु जरुरी छैन। संवैधानिक हक अधिकार हो, सबैको मातृभाषा बोल्न पाउने अधिकार हो। सफर गर्ने सुविधा दिएको छ भने किन नलिँदा राम्रो हुन्छ, पोजिटिभ हो। मेन कुरो हेर्ने काम हो, काम गर्नु पर्यो, त्यो भाषाले काम गर्ने होइन।
सबै मान्छेहरूले आफ्नो भाषा युज गरेर हुन्छ नि, त्यसैले आफ्नो भाषामा बोल्दा ठिक हुन्छ।
Following its recent electoral success, Rashtriya Swatantra Party is beginning to streamline the federal cabinet to better reflect the country's decentralized structure. By consolidating several portfolios into 18 core ministries, the incoming administration aims to enhance administrative coordination ahead of this Friday's swearing-in ceremony. A report.
Following a historic landslide victory, Rashtriya Swatantra Party is moving to fulfill its promise of a leaner, more efficient government. Armed with a near two-thirds majority in the House of Representatives, the party has announced plans to slash the number of federal ministries. The move marks a departure from decades of jumbo cabinets and signals a new era of fiscal responsibility in Kathmandu. This March, the political landscape of Nepal changed. The Rashtriya Swatantra Party secured a massive mandate, and now they're using that power to cut the federal fat. The proposal is simple but radical: reduced the number of federal ministries from the current 21 down to a maximum of 18. This includes eliminating the practice of appointing additional state ministers, which previously bloated the cabinet to 25 members. Why the cut? The Rashtriya Swatantra Party argues that in Nepal's three-tier federal system, the centre no longer needs to do it all. With local development managed by municipalities and provincial governments handling infrastructure, a massive central bureaucracy has become an expensive redundancy.
धेरै संख्यामा खाली चाहिँ मन्त्रीहरू मन्त्रालय मात्रै बनाउने भन्दा पनि हामीले हाम्रो वाचा पत्रमा 18 वटा मन्त्रालय ननाग्ने गरी चाहिँ हामी बनाउँछौँ भने हाम्रो वाचा पत्र हाम्रो म्यानिफेस्टोमै हामीले लेखेका कारण हामी त्यसमै 18 मन्त्रालय भित्रमै हाम्रो चाहिँ क्याबिनेट हुन्छ र विशेष गरी केही मन्त्रालयहरूलाई गाभ्ने पनि गर्दा पनि त्यसको चाहिँ डेलिभरीमा चाहिँ खासै समस्या नआउने डेलिभरी पनि हुनु पर्यो चुस्त रूपमा हैन नागरिकले त्यो अनुभूति पनि गर्नु पर्यो र त्यसले चाहिँ खासै त्यसमा चाहिँ फरक नपर्ने हुनाले चाहिँ यो संख्या घटाउनै हामीले खोजेका छौं.
While the final blueprint is still being polished, sources say major mergers are on the table. Forest and environment may merge with land management. Cooperatives and poverty alleviation could combine with youth, sports and labor. The goal is a smart cabinet, capable, diverse and result-driven. The new Prime Minister is set to be sworn in this Friday, and the streamlined cabinet is expected to take their oaths of office alongside him.
That wraps up our issue of the day. After a break, a deepening global energy crisis sends shockwaves across markets, with oil prices surging and supply routes under threat. We'll look at how countries are scrambling to secure fuel, the economic impact, and what it means for households worldwide. Stay with us. You're watching News Hour here on NTV World. I am Sarah Sapsanamarai. Welcome back. While the front line remains centered in the Middle East, the fallout of this conflict is now redrawing the boundaries of daily life for billions of people across the world. The world is seeing a rare convergence where the high-stakes diplomacy of the UN and central banks is being directly dictated by the fuel gauges of commuters thousands of miles away. Tonight in our cover story, we look at how a localized strike has transformed into a global siege on energy security and the unprecedented measures nations are taking just to keep the lights on.
What began on February 20th as a lightning strike by the US and Israel against Iran has spiraled into a regional conflagration that is now suffocating the global economy. With the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most vital energy artery, effectively paralyzed, oil prices are in uncharted territory. From the halls of power in Geneva to the driver's seat of a jeepney in Manila, the energy shock is no longer a forecast. It is a fight for survival. In Frankfurt, European Central Bank Chief Christine Lagarde broke the silence. Her message, the Eurozone is prepared, but the danger is persistent.
We have a strategy that is built for a world of higher uncertainty, with risks and scenarios at its core. We have a graduated set of options for responding, and we are starting from a better place should we need to act. And we will not act before we have sufficient information on the size and persistence of the shock and its propagation. But we will not be paralyzed by hesitation, because our commitment to delivering 2% inflation over the medium term is unconditional.
But at the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva, the luxury of waiting has already expired. In a rare, urgent debate, 6 Gulf nations and Jordan stood united, demanding that Tehran halt its strikes on their soil.
The situation is extremely dangerous and unpredictable and has created chaos across the region, affecting Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Jordan, and beyond. Conflict can never be ordinary or standard, but this conflict has an unprecedented power to ensnare countries across borders and around the world. Complex dynamics could ignite further national, regional, or global crises at any moment, with an appalling impact on civilians and people everywhere.
The Council is considering a resolution to condemn Iran in the strongest terms for targeting energy infrastructure and attempting to close the strait. But Iran's ambassador Ali Bahraini fired back, calling the US-Israeli campaign a historic mistake and accusing Gulf neighbors of fueling the jets that drop bombs on Iranian children. This is the heart of the crisis, the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has turned this narrow waterway into a gauntlet of ballistic missiles and drones. The UAE alone claims to have intercepted over 2,000 threats. For Asia, the math is devastating. 90% of the energy passing through this gap is bound for Asian shores. Today, that flow has slowed to trickle. 7,000 kilometers away, the war has reached the streets of Manila. The Philippines has declared a national emergency. The lights are being dimmed, working weeks are being cut, national holidays are being declared not for celebration but to keep the power on. On Friday, the UN will meet again, this time to discuss the strike on an Iranian school that killed 165 people. As both sides trade accusations of terror, the world waits for a de-escalation that feels further away than ever.
And on to other news now. Nepal's trade dependency on fossil fuels continues to deepen, with the country importing over 123 billion rupees worth of petroleum products in the first 7 months of the current fiscal year. Data from the Birganj Customs Office shows a significant uptick in volume compared to last year, with diesel alone accounting for nearly 64 billion rupees of the total import bill. Despite this surge, including a sharp rise in liquefied petroleum gas imports, which hit over 372,000 metric tons in the last month alone, a domestic shortage is looming. While the government has collected 52 billion rupees in revenue from these imports, ordinary consumers, particularly those relying on single cylinders, report widespread difficulty in accessing supplies. Now, residents in central Nepal are raising alarm over renewed environmental risks, months after deadly floods caused widespread destruction. In Ward 12 of Panoti, locals say the resumption of stone quarrying and crusher operations along the Roshi River has reignited fears of another disaster. The area was severely affected by flooding in October 2024, with communities blaming unregulated extraction for worsening the impact. Residents say excessive mining has led to the buildup of sand, gravel and debris in the river, altering its natural course and increasing flood risk. They also accuse authorities of failing to enforce environmental impact assessments and proper oversight. Local reports indicate that more than a dozen such operations are active in the area, raising concerns about safety and long-term environmental damage. The historically significant Taksar area, once a center for coin minting in eastern Okhaldunga, Nepal, now lies in a sorry state. Once a thriving hub for craftsmanship, the site stands dilapidated, awaiting preservation and recognition. Remnants of its past, including stone frames used in coin production, traces of copper processing, and scattered old coins, continue to be a silent witness to its rich historical legacy. Rojina Rai with our local correspondent Naveen Raj Karki explain more.
यो डोली पैसा यस्तो डोली पैसा काट्थे अरे पहिला काटिन्छ अरे यस्तो डोली यो पन्ने बनाएर जस्तो पैसा अहिले देखाइमा यस्तै छ यो अहिले टक काट्ने ठाउँमा यहाँनिर यस्तो पैसा काट्थे अरे टक काटेर भन्छन् डोली पैसा पनि अरे नाम पनि टक्सर रहेको.
The Taksar area, traditional facility of minting coins in eastern Nepal's Okhaldunga district, stand as a silent witness to the nation's rich history of copper coin production. However, this historically significant site has long been neglected. 4 years ago, the local government constructed a protective wall to support preservation efforts. Since then, no further conservation or construction work has been carried out. Despite its clear historical and archaeological importance, meaningful preservation initiatives have largely stalled. Once a thriving hub where raw copper was carefully transformed into doli paisa or coins, Taksar now awaits proper protection and restoration. Stone frames once used for shaping coins still remain, while processed copper underground serve as enduring traces of a craft that once sustained entire generations. According to locals, copper extracted from Jantar Khani was transported to Taksar, where it was fashioned into four-sided flat coins.
डोली पैसा काटेको कहीँ के भेटिन्छ देखिन्छ त्यो पाइयो त्यहाँदेखि गएर चाहिँ यो पत्र बाटाका छौनेली त्यो पैसा काटेको लिमा उ भन्थे के अरे किट भन्थे त्यो किट पाइएको अनि त्यहाँदेखि आएर चाहिँ यो ढुङ्गाहरू पनि मजाले खोपेर बनाएको र कुनै यो पैसाको आकारका चाहिँ ढुङ्गा पनि बनाएकाले त्यही चाहिँ देखियो अहिले हाल.
Over time, the site evolved into a well-organized industrial center, maintaining strong trade connections with Kolkata, Darjeeling, Siliguri, and Bhutan. It functioned as a key hub for both mining and artisanal production. Even today, some of these coins are preserved by elderly villagers, offering a tangible link to the past. Preserving Taksar is not merely about protecting stones and metal. It is more about honoring the skills, labor, and legacy of the generations who contributed to Nepal's cultural and economic heritage. Without immediate action, the remaining artifacts and evidence of this once vibrant craft are at risk of disappearing forever. Rosina Rai with Nabin Raj Karki from Okhaltunga reporting for NTV World.
In Nepal's eastern hills, a quiet crisis is hollowing out the district of Bhojpur. Rampant monkey raids have escalated from a seasonal nuisance to a driver of mass displacement. In Ramprasad Rai municipality, once vibrant settlements like Archale and Bhorlini are being reclaimed by the forest. Local farmers report that nearly 98% of residents in some wards have abandoned their ancestral homes after losing entire harvests of maize and millet to Samian troops. With a lack of young labor to guard the fields, the economic burden has become a final straw, leaving a trail of ghost villages across the foothills. Now, before we check out the international updates, a quick recap of the headlines. Government to release investigation findings of September 8 and 9. High-level report on Nepal Children's Organization to be made public. Nepal's senior-most lawmaker Arjun Narsigesi is sworn in to lead House procedures ahead of full parliamentary oath ceremony. Parliament Secretariat finalizes historic swearing-in ceremony for 50 lawmakers taking their oaths in record number of mother tongues. Iran rejects 15-point US proposal delivered via Pakistan, issues 5 conditions including full war reparations. National energy emergency declared in Philippines amid escalating conflict in the Middle East. President Marcos says alternative sources being sought for. And National Sports Council suspends All Nepal Football Association leadership for 3 months over repeated failure to follow directives. In the wake of military plane crash on March 24 in southern Colombia, played a key role in rescue efforts, forming human chains, transporting the injured in motorcycles and preventing the death toll from being even higher. The government is investigating the crash, with President Gustavo Petro blaming the aging C-130 Hercules plane donated by the US and calling for accountability. Hospitals in Bogota and nearby towns are treating dozens of injured soldiers, while forensic teams begin transferring bodies for identification. Former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro has been granted humanitarian house arrest due to declining health, allowing him to serve his 27-year sentence for an attempted coup at home rather than in prison. The decision by the Supreme Court comes after Bolsonaro's hospitalization since March 13 for pneumonia and other health complications, including recent kidney issues. The initial period of house arrest is set for 90 days, after which authorities will reassess his condition and determine whether to extend the arrangement. Bolsonaro's lawyers had long requested this measure, which the court had previously denied, while his son, Senator Flavio Bolsonaro, prepares for a possible presidential run in October. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko has arrived in Pyongyang for his official visit to North Korea, marking a rare high-level engagement between the two nations. State media in Belarus said the two-day trip aims to deepen political and economic cooperation and also identify joint projects. Lukashenko is expected to meet North Korean leader Kim Jong-un following an earlier encounter between the two in Beijing last year. Both countries have faced Western sanctions and have maintained close relations with Russia, particularly in the context of the ongoing war in Ukraine. The visit comes amid broader geopolitical shifts as Pyongyang seeks to expand its international partnerships, while Minsk looks to strengthen ties beyond its traditional allies. We're going for another breather here. Business updates coming up next.
Agency is ready to move forward with an additional release of oil reserves if needed as the Iran-linked conflict fuels a global energy crisis. Kenya Airways is benefiting from the ongoing Middle East conflict as disruptions to Gulf aviation routes drive more passengers and cargo through its Nairobi hub. The national carrier has reported a nearly 30% increase in passenger traffic and a 250% rise in cargo shipments, with travelers rerouted from Europe, Asia, and the US. Some long-haul flights are now operating at 99% capacity, and cargo planes are carrying significantly more than usual. The airline has adjusted operations by using larger aircraft to compensate for fewer flights to the Middle East. Kenya is also seeking alternative sources of jet fuel as the country currently relies on supplies from the Gulf. BTS's long-awaited comeback concert in Seoul drew an estimated 18.4 million global viewers, Netflix said, marking the streaming giant's first live music broadcast in the country. The performance coincided with the release of their new album, Arirang, which sold nearly 4 million copies on its first day. Held at the historic Gyeongbokgung Palace, the concert also attracted over 100,000 fans in person, with authorities deploying 15,000 security personnel to manage the crowd. The live stream reached Netflix's top 10 in 80 countries and topped charts in 24, while songs from the album dominated Spotify's global rankings. BTS now embarks on an 82-day world tour across Asia, North America, Europe, and Latin America, with tickets selling out within hours in multiple markets.
And with that, we move on to sports update. In Toronto, organisers have unveiled the upgraded BMO field for the 2026 World Cup, dismissing social media concerns over new temporary seating. 17,000 seats were added to meet FIFA standards, and officials insist the engineering meets rigorous global safety protocols. The expansion faces its first major test on May 9th when Lionel Messi and Inter Miami arrive for a sold-out fixture. Meanwhile, the iconic FIFA World Cup trophy has touched down on Los Angeles. Italian legend Alessandro Del Piero unveiled the 18-carat gold prize, kicking off a 38-city North American tour to build momentum for the largest tournament in history. Nepal's national women's football captain Sabitra Bhandari, widely known as Samba, has successfully undergone knee surgery in Auckland, New Zealand. The star striker, who was originally scheduled for treatment in Qatar, diverted to New Zealand due to ongoing regional instability in the area. Following a public appeal after claims of neglect by the national football governing body NFA, global supporters crowd-funded over 15 million rupees in a single day. Bhandari will begin her rehabilitation tomorrow under specialist supervision, with plans to return to Qatar's Aspetar clinic once the security situation stabilizes. Time now for the weather updates, first from across Nepal and then from around the world. And before wrapping up, here's a reminder of the top stories this hour. Government to release investigation findings of September 89 high-level report on Nepal Children's Organization to be made public. Nepal's senior-most lawmaker Arjun Narsigesi sworn in to lead House proceedings ahead of full parliamentary oath ceremony. Parliament Secretariat finalizes historic swearing-in ceremony for 50 lawmakers taking their oaths in record number of mother tongues. Iran rejects 15-point US proposal delivered via Pakistan, issues 5 conditions including full war reparations. National energy emergency declared in Philippines amid escalating conflicts in the Middle East. President Marcos says alternative sources being sought for. And National Sports Council suspends all Nepal Football Association leadership for 3 months over repeated failure to follow directives. And that brings us to the end of this edition of News Hour here on NTV World. Do join us through our social media pages and also get the latest update from our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I'm Sarah Sapsanamarai. Thanks for staying with us. Good night.